Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the RSS Endurance Series here on RCI TV. Today, we're live from the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but it's the road course layout that plays host to round 6 of the championship. I'm John Dalton, joined by Mitch Hobbs. And Mitch, this track has seen it all from Formula One to MotoGP, endurance racing, IndyCar, and of course, this afternoon, it's our turn to add to the history books.
Yeah, too right, John. Personally, I love Indy. I think it's a really, it's a very flat track, I admit, but I think it flows quite well, promotes some really good racing. So I'm, very much looking forward to seeing how this sort of plays out this afternoon to see who comes out on top. It's going to be a cracking endurance race.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race indeed, with the added curveball of some teams changing their cars for today after a late bug with the Cadillac was found upon testing. The hybrid system no longer deploying after about 5 or 6 laps. So lots of learning curves for people here today. And currently Benjamin Heilman, the first man to take to the grid for his 2 flying laps in the Porsche. Down to turn 1, it's a long run, heavy braking zone, tightens up towards the apex. And then we get the switch back to turn 2 and 3. So the inside becoming the outside as we ride on board with the German driver through turn 4. Turn 5 and 6, the little piff path chicane, we're heading left here instead of right like we do in ACC, and on to what is essentially the run down towards turn 7 through the back straight. Could be a good passing opportunity here. A poor exit out of 4 could lead you up the inside into turn 7. And then we begin the last set of corners, the switchback nature once again through 8 and 9 before setting themselves up for 10. This could be a passing place if you're very, very aggressive towards the inside on opening the door, or focus on the exit through out onto the banking of turn 11 before we get down to turn 12. Again, another 90 right, another hard braking zone. Good to get the car up the inside there before we round out the penultimate corner of 13. Left takes you towards the start finish line. Heading right takes you down towards pit entry before flat out through turn 14, letting the car run all the way out to the wall across the start finish line for Benjamin Harmon. He goes initially a 1:18.879 is the benchmark time to beat Mitch.
Yeah, that looked like a pretty clean lap. You know, colder tyres to start with, so of course that's not going to be the optimum lap. But 1:20.0 dead from Ashley Holland there, so we can see that's a pretty cracking first lap. Oh, never mind. A Pike has just made me look like a fool. But there's 2 Porsches at the moment in the top 2. Still, of course, some cars needing to put in their valid laps, so. It's not too cold on track, almost 40 degrees on the track, 28 ambient, so it's getting a little bit roasty toasty there for them, so probably not the most optimal grip for them as well, so they might experience that throughout the lap. You can see got drivers getting their tyres warm, going on their first lap, maybe just opting to go out a little bit later in the Acura, just see what they can do. See the GT3 times piling in nicely. Beifeld's done a 24.6. And Pilbeam's done a 25.2, so a bit of a gap there. The McLaren tends to be pretty good on its first lap on those cold tyres in comparison to some of the other cars, if I recall correctly. So we'll probably see those times come down a little bit, and we'll see. You can see some other drivers slotting in there nicely. Harmon's done a 1:18.1. There you go. So really getting those tyres in there. Oh, 1:17.9 from Gallagher. That is a cracking time in the BMW there. But I suspect there's still a bit more to come, John. I just got a sneaking suspicion on that one.
Yeah, I reckon so. I think you might be right here as we watch the FTW Motorsport Acura still trying to build tire temperature as they head down towards turn 7. A little wiggle on their first flying lap. A big load of understeer as they try to hit the apex of 7. That's going to definitely harm their lap time. So maybe scratching this one off the cards, going back to trying to warm up those tires and just go for a final push lap, which is a bit of a risky strategy as you do miss the chance, of course, of getting that early banker lap in. And any mistake towards the end of the second lap could spell disaster and could see you starting at the back of the GTP field today. Top time, Michael Opalka, as you said earlier on, 1:17.7 for the ROM racing car. That is currently your championship leaders. They have, of course, rebranded from CRF Motorsport to ROM Racing. They hold the upper hand currently with 305 points over the VFT Esports car of Adrian Galeo. They're on 293, so just 12 points separating the two. So plenty still to play for. And Galeo across the line, he goes to the top of the grid provisionally with a 1:17.3. Could this be the pole time cemented, or will Florian Durkop for the FTW Motorsport entry? Of course, this is their last flying lap. They've already had their initial one as we ride on board, hurtling down towards turn 7, where we saw the understeer last time out, standing hard on the brakes, spotting the apex, getting it turned in nicely, but being careful. The inside curb of 7 is quite high and will upset the car as we head over the flat curbs of 8, 9, switching back towards 10. 10's a bit of a misleading corner. The turning point is much earlier than you think, and the corner is much wider than it looks upon initial entry, so you can carry lots of speed through turn 11, which sets you up well for the run through 11 onto the banking. Now a few more corners to go. Turn 13, unlucky for some. Durkop manages to get it turned in towards the apex, now opening the throttle towards turn 14, out onto the banking, letting the car run up the banking, nearly catching the grass as he does so towards the line. Durkop goes. Will it be good enough for a pole? And it's not. It's a 1:17.551, but it's good enough to put him on the front row of the grid as we see how to end your lap. Maybe not so much style there from Durkop, but back to the pit lane he shall go. So GTP category, Mitch, I think looks relatively cemented in currently, and I think everybody so far has done their 2 laps. So the grid set, I think on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see Ted there cycling through each car to make sure nobody is on circuit. So we've got VFT at the front, FTW in second, and championship leaders in the second row of the grid. Michael Opalka not looking as confident as they have been in previous rounds, Mitch, and that could be down to, of course, the car change that we spoke about earlier on with the Cadillac.
Yeah, that's might have definitely spiced a few things up there. Durkot was looking, I saw he just looking at his lap, he looked a little bit twitchy in a couple of areas, didn't quite maybe hit as much curbing through, that final corner there that I probably personally would have expected to see, but still, I mean, tenth and 2.5 tenths off Adrian Gallagher, that's something's missing there, I think, for Dirk Hopper. Polka's, again, as you say, maybe didn't look too confident in the car. Heilman looked pretty confident in the car, just probably wasn't able to quite put the lap together there in the GTPs. But the GT3s, things are really looking close. Donovan and Byfelt, 1/10 between P1 and 2 there. That's a cracking little time. Pilbeam's not too far behind in the Mustang either, with Ressa as well, 24.8, and then back to Sarkoski in 24.9. So they're really, really close there. All times almost within 2 seconds there between all the drivers. So there's going to be some, I suspect, some really close battles sort of in the early on, probably the first half an hour of the race, whilst people just settle in, get themselves in the rhythm, and then get a move on and start getting that pace injected into the race, John.
Yeah, of course, 1.8 seconds roughly, I think, while you were trying to work it out, is what I counted between the top of GTD and the bottom of GTD. So like you say, should be relatively close in the opening stages of this race while everybody finds their feet. Current championship standings on your screens currently. Sadly, no fancy graphics this week. However, hopefully for round 7, we should be back to normal for that one. So at the top, ROM Racing GTP, as I said earlier on, rebranded from CRF Motorsports. They take the lead so far with 305. VFT Esports just behind on 293. Still in contention, but not out of it yet. Of course, FTW Motorsport and Weapons Mandatory in P4 with 194 points. We then see the first of the Porsches slotting in for the SJ&H team with 173, and then a big gap back to the Racing Nublets number 1 car with 98 points. Thomas Enger Sim Racing on 87, the sister ROM Racing car on 85. Nearly on pace GTP, they've actually switched to GTD, so they will see no further points in that entry for the rest of the season. eSim Racing WNB rounding out your top 10 with 80 points, and not to forget to mention the Vesta Sport Green on 69 points, and that's just from a singular round, so what could have been on that entry potentially. And then lots of names that we're quite familiar with, although not seeing many of them on the grid today, including the Big Pig Racing car, one of the fan favorites I think we had up here in the commentary box, and a few teams at the bottom there yet to score any points. But 7 GTPs on the field today should make for some easy points for those guys that have turned up. As we flick to the GTD standings, it's the FTW Motorsports red entry with a very commanding lead at the top with 305 points. The Thomas Enger Sim Racing Mustang, 214, just behind those guys. Still in contention again. It only takes a kind of bad round for the FTW crew to undo all of their hard work so far this season. Clarity Racing with 183 points. We've then got Garage 991, unfortunately not with us again today, I don't believe, on 177. The ERE Race Esports team, they're definitely in the grid today with 171 points, and that's only from scoring from 3 rounds worth of points here in the RSS Endurance Series, so still all to play for there. The VGTR Esports crew on 158 points. HWT have accrued 114. Close behind them, eSim Racing Winter Segment on 106, TTM Esports on 105, and the Wheelie Slow Racing Camp on 104, and Rebound Racing just outside the top 10 there with 98. But Mitch, it's looking really competitive still in the GTD field. Of course, it's mainly for honors once you get kind of just outside the top 3 positions, but it's still a minor amount of points that separate everyone. So still very much alive here.
Yeah, very much looking forward throughout the race today to see how that sort of shapes out. The championship battles are getting underway here, John, the formation lap, and the drivers, P1's getting nice up close and personal with the safety car there, the M2, and they'll be getting their tyres nice and warm. They don't want to overdo it though, having learnt the hard way myself in driving the GTDs today. In fact, if you overdo them too quickly, it can certainly not benefit you later on, so hopefully they'll just get them nice and warm and get themselves ready. Of course, the GTD field will hold the back a little bit from the GTP field and let them get on their merry way before they start their race, so that they don't impede upon the class ahead of them. And got 11 cars here, so hopefully there's not too much carnage. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm sure these drivers being this far in that will do their thing. Standings leader, John, as well, just being told is starting from the back. So that's I don't know whether that's for a bit of fun or see where they end up, last to first, who knows. But that will certainly be an interesting one to watch throughout the race. You can see safety car up there, all the GTPs warming up their tyres, GTDs as well, getting themselves ready. Hopefully they don't overheat them too quickly. They'll get their brakes warmed up as well before they get back in their double file formation. I can't even call that single file, John. I don't know what that is. That's a formation of something. I don't know what that is. But they're using all of the track, needless to say, to get their tyres warm. And then we'll get underway here. Given that we don't turn right down into the long sweeping left-hander like we do in ACC, it's a very, very high-speed average track with this layout. So that could certainly bring things to light and should really help with the blue flags between GTPs and GTDs, you would think, as long as people respect the other drivers around them. As we get into that double file formation now with the GTPs, they'll get nice and bunched up, ready to go racing here. Hopefully see some cracking racing, John.
Yeah, of course, the old staggered start here. So GTPs get released in their pack. GTDs will then follow suit. But everybody, as you can see, itching to get away currently. Last to first challenge, as you said, from Tom Hench in the FTW Motorsport car. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. That could be an undoing of a championship just by one qualifying session if they start to get tangled up with some of the midfielders. Tom Bryant from the HWT Motorsport Mustang saying we should not be up here. So relatively surprised that Alex Pilbeam has managed to put it into P3, but keep an eye on that car to see how they go as leaders begin to accelerate away now off of turn 14. It's a great start from Adrian Galeo, leaping out ahead of Florian Durkop and already still weaving to try and get heat into the tyres of the BMW, and everybody single file, relatively speaking, into the first corner. And as we flick back, it's Marcus Beifeld for nearly on pace, coming under pressure from Alex Pilbeam in the Mustang just behind, and Ressar in the Roxy Porsche just behind them. Late break on the Thomas Enger Sim Racing sister car in the midfield, trying to get up the inside of Roxy but not managing to do so, and of course the outside becoming the inside. Everybody getting kind of held up as momentum is lost within the GTD category, and it's bunching up very closely in turn 4 as we head out through the chicane of 5, and I think that's Tom Hench sideways coming out. That's the FTW Motorsports red entry. That's not going to be good for those tyres on the opening lap as they came out of turn 4 sideways on the exit. Let's catch a race replay just to see what happened here. Mustang in the back, looks like on the dirty side of the road, Mitch. There's some gravel out there from the previous session that's been brought on, and I think cold tyres, a little bit of gravel, a bit of a heavy right foot, and Tom Hench already on the back foot in the first lap as leaders begin to complete their first lap. Looks like all GTPs have survived. Florian Durkop, though, now to the front. Adrian Galeo has surrendered the lead at some point during the lap, but Galeo not giving up, tucking in the slipstream of Florian Durkop down into turn number 1. Doesn't want to lose the back of the GTP because, again, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away, Mitch. It's going to be a topic that we're talking about, I'm sure, for the next 3 hours this afternoon.
Yeah, too right, and really good from Durkop. We've seen Durkop in many different series now, both ACC, iRacing, and he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I knew that going into the start of the race. I think we all did with Gallagher having him behind. We knew it was going to be a tall order to keep his pace at bay, and he's certainly shown that. Gallagher's still just holding on nicely, but I think if Durkop just keeps it consistent, I think he'll start to pull away momentarily. But Harman now is trying to hunt down a polka at the moment, and Langley's just holding in this little strip showing. I think that's unfortunately for him the only thing actually keeping him in it, not necessarily the pace, but he's doing well. If he just holds and looks for a potential incident or something like that, I'm sure he'll find a way through. As we see the GTD field now on board with Alex Pilbeam, who's just sitting in behind Marcus Byfelt, who's dropped 1.6 to Donovan, the Thomas Anger Sim Racing Ford up ahead. And he's really just sitting there, I think, just to let him know he's there. I don't think he's probably pushing yet. Might be trying to do a little bit of fuel saving. He's got the Cooten Round racing car behind 1.5, so doesn't need to be too concerned about that at the moment. Just sitting nicely in that slipstream, just pushing himself along. We can see some other battles at the back. The Tower as well is actually fighting almost with Tom Roberts in for P7 in the GTD fields. We see Heilman just sitting nicely behind a Palka, not doing anything too crazy of a move at this point in time. A little used to the curve. The GTPs really do get upset, John, with those curves, so they've just got to play it safe with how much curbing they use, and of course the height of the curve as well, because if they're a big boy, they're probably going to get quite the shunt in the suspension as they're coming round. Fast right-hander. This is one that can throw a few people off. You carry too much speed into the almost pretty much 90-degree right-hander here. They're in a world of pain. They'll lock up, go off into the grass, and that'll be it for them. But Apelka's doing well just to deal with the pressure. It's not like Harmon's putting, his nose down the inside or anything just yet. And maybe he's conserving his tyres a little bit before maybe making an early push for position on the podium. Or he could just maybe be saving something for a bit later in the strategy, a little bit wider. The potential at apex there for Apelka, but nothing crazy, not losing a whole lot of time. We can see Martin Varga round the outside goes Adam Zarkozy, I believe. Or no, Cooten Round. I'll try again. I'll get there. Cooten Round going around the outside. I should have been able to tell by the pink livery. That's an unforgettable livery there, John. And around the outside into P4. But Varga's not giving in here. Let's have a look. Following for the slipstream, sticks the nose out for pressure, but shouldn't go for a move, just wants to apply that pressure. And he's going to have to do it because he's got Adam Zarkozy behind him as well. So this could go one of two ways, John. I'm really hoping that they keep it respectful amongst each other.
Yeah, absolutely so, as we get a fantastic look at the iRacing livery, the Roxy variant, of course, of the famous IMSA green Rexy Porsche, pink sister Roxy. There just ahead, and Martin Varga, like you say, almost wanting to kind of work together, I would say, at this stage. Meanwhile, flicking back, to Matthias Lateo on the back end of Tom Roberts, trying to open that door. As I mentioned in qualifying, 7 can be a very good passing place if you're aggressive, and that's kind of about as much room as you need. There was a McLaren-sized gap left by Tom Roberts, and Matthias Lateo, definitely saw it and went for it, as now Theobald Roskam sets his sights on the back of the Iron Brew liveried Acura NSX there. And meanwhile at the front, Martin Varga and Rassar still not at the end of this fight, switching back, trying to get the better run off of 14 to maximize the slipstream. And if they start scrapping and taking time out of each other, or even worse, taking lumps out of each other, like you just said, Mitch, the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry is just behind, and just ahead, Alex Pilbeam is extending that gap over these two to the bottom step of the podium. Varga goes defensive, and it looks like Rassar trying to break up a little bit early to get the old undercut, jump on the power a little bit sooner to get up the inside of turn 4, but I don't think the move is on there. And Ted trying to catch the moment the pass has happened, and here it goes, coming out of turn 12, into 13, and that's exactly where Martin Varga saw the gap and went for it. And hopefully now Varga can drive away from Rassar, or it's going to be a little bit embarrassing if Rassar manages to find their way back through on the ROM Racing GT3 entry. But the Thomas Enger entry, among all of that, has definitely closed the gap up in the last lap or so, and they can now set their sights on to the back of the Roxy Porsche as we ride on board with the Mustang, listening of course to the high revving V8 engine that is in this one. No Cadillac today, so Ted needs to find his V8 engine fix somewhere. And oh, that's a car sideways. That's a wheel detached at the front. The steering definitely looks disconnected. That's Adrian Galeo, and that's a very big impact somewhere around the lap. Let's have a look what happened here. We're down into turn number 4, I think, before the chicane of 5 and 6. Sets the BMW up very nicely. Nobody around him. Over one curb, over the other, gets a twitch and fires him off hard into the wall to driver's left. left, the front and the rear deck detaching off the BMW, immediately towing to the pit lane, hopefully trying to get a fast repair under the belt for that BMW. But the amount of damage there, Mitch, you're more rehearsed in iRacing than I am. That's going to be even still a lengthy repair as the steering snaps over the curb of 6. That BMW certainly written off for a few laps now.
One thing I can tell you, John, that's not buffing out. That needs some repairs on it. I know they've got the fast repair that they will most certainly use. That would be minimum 15 minutes repair, 15, 20 minutes probably. He's really shunted that wall, and they'll use that fast repair and just get that tow back to the pits, and they'll be on their way, because that car really wasn't moving from the grass. And it's that fine line through that chicane that they've just got to hit it that right, and I think it's just taken a bit too much of the left-hand side of the car over the right side of the curb, and just taken those left-hand side tyres off the track and slammed back down, and it's gotten unsettled with not a lot of grip and quite a high amount of speed, and put him in the wall, which is unfortunate because he was really pushing quite nicely in P2 there. So that promotes Opelka up into P2 and Heilmann up into P3 with a good little gap to Langley behind. Nothing crazy though. One mistake here, and that could promote Langley up into P3 pretty easily. Let's have a look at what's going on at the lap time wise. So yeah, pretty even between P2 and P3. Langley's dropping back a little bit, but he's matching Holland. Perez is in there as well, and Gallagher up until that point was very much matching Opelka and not too far off Durkop. But Durkop is just in the lead of his own, 4/10 faster, almost 5/10 faster on that last lap alone than Opelka. And that just shows the skill that Florian Durkop has as a sim racer, not just, of course, in ACC, but iRacing as well. He's just making it look so easy, as we can see. Speaking of easy, Sarkozy's still fighting with Ressa, with Latau as well. Just sneaking up in the rear. I don't know if he's going to potentially make a move, but certainly puts the pressure on. Speaking of moves, down the inside, that's a big lunge. That's too deep. Oh, I was worried about the spin there on the throttle input, but he's pulled that back onto the track nicely. Nothing dangerous. And here comes the VFT Esports car back out on the track, and it's been quite the lengthy stop tow for them. They are a lap down, but they're going to keep going. There is, of course, 3 hours here, so anything can happen in that time. And with the talent and pace that Gallagher has, I would not doubt if we see them back up, almost, I'd say, pushing for the podium by the end of the race if there's other incidents. As we see the Taos just sneaking behind Ressa after getting past Sarkozy. After Sarkozy made that little mistake in the Mustang, but he's really there in his big slab of American cheese. He's following along nicely, and that Mustang, I'm not a personal favourite. Definitely not a personal favourite of mine, but it's got some straight line speed, that car, in comparison to these two. Especially the Porsche. Oh, as the tail just gets nice up close and personal, that pink Porsche. And just looking, I'm smelling a lot of drivers tend to be, John, looking for the switchback. And as I say that, the tail looked for it, and Ressa was already there to it and just needs to hold that inside line. Here we go. I'm smelling a move here. Let's see how it's got to be down the inside, if anything. No, he thinks better of it. He was possibly looking for a switchback. Maybe if he goes for the switchback here, get a good run onto the straight. He's looking for it. Holds tight. Then he'll come out wide that little bit later, and did. And just needs to follow that slipstream. But he's got Sarkozy behind, and Sarkozy in that Mustang's going to have a good slipstream, with the double slipstream, in fact. Whether that's going to put any pressure on, I don't think so. It'll certainly help him get up further. You can even just see that Iron Brew Akira just sneaking in to this battle a little bit, as we can see. The times are really close. Ressa's just done a 26.1, Tao's done a 26.0, and Sarkozy's back on the ball, 25.8. So this is cracking little battle here, John. I reckon if I'm Sarkozy, I just sit here and wait a minute, because I don't... Latau's being a little... Oh, that's a big jump there over the curb. I think Latau's looking for something and just can't quite find it, and that's going to hold him up, and Ressa might be the one that we can see. Oh, GTP's coming through now. You can see for the first lap of traffic, it's always a scary one for the GTPs. So hopefully, oh, that's up close and personal there. That's a little bit scary. They'll get through. I'll get through no matter. Oh, that's not the place to be. Holy moly. I just pulled that one through. I didn't know where that was going, but that's well done. Sarkozy's dropping back a little bit. So I wonder where this is going to go, John. I'm very intrigued to see what Letao can pull out of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's you know, you can see the lap times there between everybody in this GTD fight. Certainly tumbling. They're into the 126s. Everybody ahead, kind of in the 125. So certainly losing some time, scrapping amongst themselves, and maybe Rassar was a little bit unsighted of the race leader Florian Durkop coming through on his first kind of lapping lap, should we say, as they've just got to the traffic, of course, and riding on board here with Benjamin Harmon in P3. Al Parker has managed to find his way through the SJNH car, but again, some traffic ahead. This could be just what the SJNH crew need to get back up onto the second step of the podium as they head through 5 and 6. We can see Opalka there running off the circuit to try and get round the Acura, and I think Benjamin Harmon with a slightly faster run down in towards turn 7. Looks like the Ron Racing car a little bit more cautious on the brakes, and Harmon saying, I am going for that gap, whether it's going to be there or not. So heads up driving from everybody involved currently as the GTPs make their way through, and Letao still glued to the back of Rassar. You can see there just ahead, and Rassar blocking Opalka. Harmon reads it, goes to the high side, and everybody just about surviving, I want to say, as they head down in towards turn 12 and 13. And Opalka's still not got the move done, but off the corner of 13 he should do, and hopefully Harmon can find the gap as well. But Rassar going for the racing line. The SJNH car is going to have to lift, and that's going to give the advantage back to the ROM Racing car as they make their way through the traffic to begin their next lap here. 15 minutes in, and we've already seen the traffic playing a part in some of the fights, so we've got plenty more to come on this one. Just headed over to Florian Durkop's stream just to see how everything looks from kind of his point of view. And on his stream title, Mitch, Cold Tire Chaos, time to bin it. So I don't even think Florian's got too much. I don't think Florian's got too much confidence that he's not going to bin this car at least once. And we're talking about, of course, top level sim racer Florian Durkop, like we keep saying, you know, well rehearsed in ACC, Unicorns of Love sim racing team in his early days, and moving on to the FTW Motorsports camp now, and even into the LMU realm. He's still as fast as you expect him to be. So even he hasn't got full confidence everything's going to go smoothly today, and that's only in 3 hours of racing. Of course, the next round slightly longer as we round out the championship as we head to Road Atlanta. That's 5 hours on the clock there, so fingers crossed the heat is something they can keep in the tires as we head there. But heading through here, we've got Matthias Letao still sniffing at the back of Rassar, not able to get through. And I think that is one of the widest Porsche 992s in the Americas currently. If you need an excellent defensive driving kind of masterclass here at Indianapolis, just watch about the last 5 to 10 minutes of the stream and you'll pretty much understand what you've got to do to keep your opponent behind you. But excellent defense so far from Rassar, and excellent attacking even from Letao. He's not making it easy as he tries to find any inch of road that's open, even taking to the grass through turn number 2, and that's lost him some time towards turn number 4 as Adrian Galeo being shown a black and white flag briefly. I can only assume for track limits on that one. Of course, drivers will have a limited number of penalties here today, and fingers crossed we don't see too many of those being given out by the game. But again, that could be something to consider for lots of these drivers. Tom Hench, though, Mitch, has made up a position. He's now into P10 after his early onslaught, coming sideways out of turn number 4. So the comeback is on for the number 96, as he's now on the back of Theobald Roskam, trying to find a way through the Ferrari under the Rebound Racing camp.
Yeah, he's going to put all the pressure in the world on Thibaut just to see, oh, yeah, a bit of a stick of the nose early in the brakes. Now, myself being a Ferrari driver at the moment in iRacing before I stopped driving it, because frankly it's annoying me, It's one of the front tyres seem to sort of go away from you for a part of the stint and then do come back. So I'm wondering, it shouldn't be this early on, but we'll probably start from sort of here on in for a little bit, and we'll see Hence go to the inside. Now let's see, is Tibbo Roskam going to give the room? Should do. Switchback I smell here. Oh, yes. And I thought he would do that. Is he in Todd to the inside? No, not anymore. He's not. He was close there. I thought he was sticking. He's just keeping himself there and might have been there enough on the around the outside of the car just to warrant him turning into the inside. As we can see, that battle probably will simmer out a little bit now that Hench is through. Is Latau is going to finally stick his nose up the inside of Ressa and does, and Ressa has to give the room. Still side by side here. Please don't turn into the other person, and doesn't. Or a little bit of push and shove there, I think, or just a bit push right down the inside. Ressa goes, but Latau has other ideas. And through goes Latau, maybe. Ressa's still trying to stick the nose in there. Maybe a move down the inside. I reckon it could go for it. Let's have a look, and does. And Sarkozy, yep, being patient, waiting to see if there's going to be an incident here, which, look, I wouldn't put it out of the picture, but these two have been very respectful to each other. And Latau gets through. Now, the Porsche's not known for its top speed, so the slipstream might be the only thing doing it. Latau immediately puts the car in almost a perfect spot on the straight, just in the middle. It allows Ressa outside or inside. And I would have picked outside myself too, because that does turn into the inside briefly. And switch back again. Tried it. Might try on the outside. Or another switch back again. Oh, that's where Sarkozy's going to get involved now. Let's see. Oh, I think that Latau's finally got that done now. Ressa's got to focus on Sarkozy behind, because I don't think... Oh, and Sarkozy's got to focus on Tom Roberts behind as well. Oh, that's a lot of curve there in the Acura, and handled that pretty well regardless. And Roberts almost could just sit here as Sarkozy, was just putting that pressure on. It's going to... Oh, that's a kiss on the rear end. I would have taken him to dinner first, but coming through the little S-bends now. He's just holding nicely, not putting any pressure on himself, just sticking with the Sarkozy in the triple slipstream he's going to have on the straight. The Acura certainly will need that here. And Sarkozy's just holding nicely. Oh, late on the brakes there from Tom Roberts. It has pretty good brakes, the Acura, at most tracks. Oh, and Sarkozy... didn't fool Ressa there completely. Ressa just going for an alternative, well, probably a more normal racing line. Oh my God, the Iron Brew Acura down the inside. That was a close moment. I was clenched for a moment there. Side by side, a kiss on the side of the doors. As I said, dinner please first. Let's have a look down into turn one. I reckon Tom Roberts could get this done under braking. And doesn't get the exit though, because the Acura just says no. And Sarkozy holds on for now. Roberts looking for a way through around the outside. Could be the play, but Sarkozy leaves in the room. But that means that Roberts is going to get the bad exit. And that's just going to simmer out. There's more people coming because Tom Hench is coming. John, there's so much going on. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, a lot going on in those last few laps, certainly to unpack. Tom Hench catching the back of Tom Roberts as he squabbles with the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry. The Roxy Porsche has kind of scrambled away a little bit from the back of the Ford Mustang, and Latau, now he's broken free of the Porsche 992. He's certainly heading on leaps and bounds. Now trying to catch the back of the sister McLaren in the form of the ROM Racing Martin Varga entry. Meanwhile, out front, Donovan in the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry, 1.2 seconds to the good from the head of Marcus Beifeld in the nearly on pace car. Just speaking to the boys earlier on in the Discord, apparently Beifeld doing a lot of lifting in this race compared to what Mikael Sundström thinks he may be doing when he gets in the car, but we'll have to see how the Swedish duo, or the Swede, sorry, gets on when they jump in the car. Meanwhile, we've got lap traffic once again coming through. Looks like Adrian Galeo's car from the helicopter here as everybody bunches up down into into turn number 1 once again. The outside becoming the inside. A big wiggle there from Tom Roberts, and he's lost it. He's lost it on the entry to turn 3, and that allows Tom Hench to go through. Was he pushed by Hench, or did he lose it under acceleration on the curbing? It did certainly look like he was running himself into the grass somewhat. Let's catch a race replay here. Big wiggle, and I think it's already gone by that point, Mitch. I don't think anything Tom Roberts or Tom Hench could do there was saving the Iron Brew car, and Tom Hench manages to find his way through, and there you go. You see the big kind of armful of opposite lock that initially gets dialed in, and the tire just doesn't grip up, and around he goes, already wrestling the car coming off turn 2. So the balance certainly wasn't there by the time he got to turn 3. I think we can rule that one no foul from Tom Hench there. So Tom Roberts will get back underway. P10, unfortunately, for the Wheelie Slow Racing team now. They were having such a good run in the early stages of this race. Meanwhile, heading into GTP, a category we've not really spoken about much, Mitch, because it's so kind of spread out. You've got Florian Turkop, 11 seconds to the good now from Michael Opalka in the ROM Racing entry. The Speed Juice and Horseflow car even 2 seconds off the back of ROM Racing. 2.8 is Ewan Langley in the Thomas Enger GTP entry. And then we've got the duo here. This is Ashley Holland in the Muppets Racing car leading. This is Perez in the 07 Racing Pink Pig entry-esque livery there. I think it is actually a Pink Pig livery. I was trying to work it out. But yeah, it certainly has red markings on, so it's very akin to the famous race car livery there as they head out onto the banking. It looks like Holland certainly has a bit of an advantage here, as Ted Edwards giving us a better look at the livery for us here in the comms box. And I can confirm that is certainly the pinkest of pigs that I have seen on a 963 currently as they head down into turn number 1. And it's the fantastic thing about sim racing. I think we talk about liveries at least once a broadcast during endurance races, Mitch. You can create anything on any car and it still looks great. You know, you can dig up old liveries from the early days. You can dig up new liveries. You can create your own livery, such as the Speed Juice and Horseflow car, some very iconic colors we become accustomed to within the realm of RCI, the kind of light blue with the pink and the darker shade of black. Of course, the FTW entries, always red, black with a little bit of white in there as well. The Mustang almost being a one-to-one copy of their GTP car. And, you know, imagination has no limits in the world of sim racing, which is great to see. Obviously, in real life, you have to make sure cars are prepped, wrapped, designed. It's all done by a person, where, of course, in sim racing, see a flash of the lights there from Ressar. He's not too happy about what's gone on into turn number 1, I think, with Sarkoski, and Tom Hench taking advantage there through turn number 4 up into P7 goes Hench. So a lot of time bled somewhere by Ressar, and it looked like a slightly aggressive move maybe from Sarkoski as they went into turn number 1 and 2, as Tom Hench looks like he's overcooked turn 7 a little bit, and that's going to allow Ressar almost the outside to become the inside on the switchback nature of the corners. But Roxy certainly not giving up, sniffing towards the inside there, but not able to make a move stick. I don't think this one is done yet. And I say, if Ressar works with Hench, they could find themselves working together back through the field relatively shortly. And we're not even through the first half an hour of the race. But going back to my point, Mitch, liveries, you know, so iconic in sim racing, and even in the real world, lots of old school liveries being dug up. If you have a look at the Porsche liveries for the Suzuka 1000 km coming up soon, they've dug up some of the old liveries from Le Mans from the 956 and the 962 days and slapped them on a 992, and they look brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Liveries, I think, one of the best parts of sim racing is you get to really show, whether it's something creative or you bring back an old livery, it sort of shows, you know, the passion that you've got, not only for sim racing, but for actual racing, because 99.9% of the time, anyone who sim races is obviously passionate about racing in some way, whether that be, you know, you might drive a GT3, but you'd be passionate about, I don't know, IndyCar or something like that. You still have that passion, and looks like Ressar's gotten back through. Whether there's been a mistake there from Hench, I'm not quite sure, but we'll soon find out, I'm sure, if we have a look at a replay, what's happened, whether just let them back through after a tap or something, not quite sure. And Oh, that's going to be, oh my goodness, there was a kiss there again, and Hench is going to have to let the GTP through, and so is Ressa. And now they're going to fight again. You can see Thibaut Roskam is just sneaking in the background as well, not necessarily getting involved in the battle yet. It's got, you know, almost 4 seconds maybe to Tom Roberts behind in that Iron Brew Acura. So we'll see. Oh, that's going to be a tap. Oh, that's a little bit... Okay. Yeah, it was. Yep. I thought that might have gotten a bit far, and unfortunately it did. And that's... Wow. Let's have a quick look at that again. You just see it was a small... Hench probably put the car... It shouldn't have been, but it's not like... Yeah. Lost it on their own. Ooh. That's... Oh, yeah, they did. I thought there was a tap there from Hench. Oh, that's some cooking tire. They're tired. Oh, and the Iron Brew Acura. Wow, that was close. And now Ressa back at the back of the grid, John. That's a bit of an unfortunate one, but here's Florian Durkop currently leading the GTP class. 11 seconds back to Michael Opolka in the ROM Racing. Speed Juice Horseflow with Benjamin Heilman as well. 3.1. Back to them, and then same gap to Langley, and same to Holland, so pretty even gaps overall at the back there. Adolfo Perez is a couple of tenths off Holland and has been for a little while now, so nothing really too crazy going on. They're sort of matching each other each lap, and Durkop is just showing everybody how it's done. And you can actually see, just having a look at the GTD splits again, Donovan and Byfelt are a second apart. It's not getting involved in a quote-unquote battle yet, but it's within the battling and slipstreaming distance. You can see that Mustang does have a tad bit of damage, maybe. Could just be the livery by the look of it as well. Doesn't look like it's anything crazy. I think it could be the livery, but doing well. It's munching those curbs like it's no tomorrow. And it is a very nice livery. You can just see Byfelt's just holding on, but that Mustang has some real grunt. Oh, that's a grass almost there for Donovan. It's got some good grunt, though, that Mustang, in comparison to the McLaren. The McLaren's definitely a very pointy car in comparison to the Mustang. Mustang's really just all about pushing the straight line speed, whereas Byfelt will have that mid-corner apex speed, and we'll need to be utilising that a bit later on the brakes as well, you'd hope, to really get that gap in 0.7 coming onto the straight. That'll get slipstream, but not necessarily enough to make an impact on Donovan. They've got almost 10 seconds to pull in behind, so they do have a bit of time and gap to do a little bit of battling, but I wouldn't want to get too involved there. A little bit late on the brakes. They had to just probably tap the brakes on the exit there as well. And just holding it nicely. Byfelt, it could easily be something that's done in the pits, is that 8/10. If you make an error on the entry or a bit slow into your pit box, it can be all the difference. And that's all that... Oh, Tom Hench's round, or had an incident somewhere. Let's have a look at the replay, John. Let's see what's happened. Oh, it's a... Oh, that's almost a carbon copy of what Ressa did only 2 laps ago. He was following them too. Maybe he wanted to follow suit, John.
Yeah, maybe Ressa, a little bit of an influencer in the world of iRacing spins. Almost a one-to-one, like you just said, Mitch, of what we saw a few laps ago. And that's brought Tom Roberts now into the fight with Tom Hench. And this kind of the first challenge in the first half hour or so hasn't gone all too well for your championship leader, Tom Hench, in the number 96, of course, spinning on the opening lap at turn 4. And now spinning on turn 14 as we see the Pink Pig trying to make a big gap up the inside of turn 7, connecting with Thibaut Roskam there. And that's going to bring Ashley Holland back into the fight as Holland goes one way and it looks like Perez going the other way, and Holland spun it on a turn number 10. He's off into the grass and Perez rubbing his hands together thinking that went better than I could have thought, given where it ended up during turn 7. As the Porsche manages to find their way through by the time we get to turn 12. Let's have a look here. It just looks like a little bit too much speed carried into turn 10, and the back end didn't like what the front end was doing, and round it went. And a bit of an awkward rejoin, trying to get it back underway. Let's ride on board. Of course, chucking it in, maybe locking the rear a little bit as they tap the brakes to get up the inside of Theobald Roskam, and just not able to get this back underway just as quickly as they'd like. Meanwhile, towards the front of GTD, Byfeld certainly closing up the gap to Donovan in these late stages of the stint. Possibly the Mustang, Mitch, a little bit more aggressive on its tire usage, as we see Donovan once again over the curb into the grass. Byfeld with a much kind of tidier line as they come out of turn number 10 down to 11 and 12. Byfeld closing up that gap. If he didn't get slipstream last time out, he's certainly going to be getting a lot of slipstream this time by as they head down towards turn number 1 out of 14. Try and keep it clean, as we've seen a few incidents from the last few laps. No foul at play here as Byfeld sets his sights to the back of the Mustang ahead. Is he going to be close enough to get a move up the inside, or will we see the traffic playing a part in this one as we see one of the GTPs creeping up on the back here? I think that's the race leader. That is indeed Florian Durkop coming into the fight now. So a battle for the lead with the leader behind, and Durkop can afford to be patient here. He's still got 12 seconds or so back to Opolka in the ROM Racing Porsche. As the GTDs hop the curbs through the chicane, Durkop can now unleash the Acura around the outside, giving them a wide berth just in case any defensive moves are being made down the back straight. The wiper on for Marcus Byfeld at the moment. I can definitely tell you there's no rain in the sky here today at Indianapolis. Temperatures looking relatively warm, 28.5 degrees in the air and 42 down on the track, nearly 43 according to our overlay in the top left, as everybody filtering through safely. No pass yet by Byfeld, but is he biding his time, Mitch? Is he waiting for the drop off of that Mustang on those tires to really cement a move in, rather than trying to force a move and cost them both time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm kind of half wondering. It's nothing on the radar at the moment. I don't think it's going to rain from what we can see. Whether it's a case of waiting for tyre drop off, whether it's fuel saving as well, that could be something they're looking to do. Is just a bit of fuel saving, go that extra lap longer, see if that makes a difference. Definitely biding time at a minimum if doing none of what I just said. Waiting for a potential mistake from Donovan. So far, there's not been any real errors from Donovan, so it's going to take, I think, a little bit more than just putting himself in the rearview mirror. I think he's going to have to stick the nose out or something along the... Oh, that's a big bounce over the curb there. Wow. Yep, there you go. They're literally within half a tenth of or pretty much half a tenth of each other. That is very much consistency between the two cars, and they're not giving an inch to each other in the lap time respect. And they are almost following each other line for line, other than obviously the front engine to mid engine changes in the racing line in some areas to get that rotation in place. Tom Hench is back behind Thibaut Roskam at the moment. They've got a big gap to Adam Sarkozy in front, so they could do a little bit of battling. Only 2.7 to Tom Roberts behind, though. Whether that's going to make well, that's a lot of curb there. That's very much a lot of curb there for Tom Hench. He's looking to make up all the time that he can on these drivers after making a couple of those errors throughout the race so far. A little bit deep there for Teva Rosgam, but pulls it up nicely, gets a good exit. But Tom Hench is sniffing at the rear end. Oh, he's going to stick a nose in. Oh, that was... Oh, that was a little bit... Oh, wow, he stays ahead though. I thought that was a little bit generous from Teva Rosgam, I cannot lie. But... he's kept it there at this moment. He's got GTPs behind. That'll be Gallagher trying to get through and trying to make up some time. Not that he's obviously being a real threat to anybody at this point, but still 2 and a bit hours to go. So it could be anything here around the outside. And he's going to get... Oh, my goodness. It's going to be the wall. Oh, my dear. He's sniffed the wall there. And get past that. Wow. Oh, everybody unclenched now. That was, I don't know what was going on there, but does manage to get past. And now the Thibaut Roskam Tom Hench battle can resume. Hench was looking for a switchback there, but Roskam said no, and was not having a bar of that. So let's have a look. And Letao What's happened there? Sarkozy's gotten through on the towel. Let's have a quick look on the replay. Oh, it's the curb again. Oh, that's a save. Well, hats off. That's a cracking save. That could have gone really badly there for Letau. And that is... Oh, and Hench is down the inside, even though he's got that little bit of damage. But Roskam in the Ferrari says no. Oh, still too wide. And gives him the room. That's a generous amount of room. Oh, bit of a kiss and shove. Play on. And that's a bit of a slide there from the Mustang, but Roskam stays ahead. I didn't know what was going to be the outcome there, but they've both kept it on track. Hench has that tiny little bit of damage there on the front right. If you have a look from the front, the car's a little bent, but hopefully nothing crazy in terms of lap time loss. There you go. So the front right, the bumper's just decided I don't want to be straight anymore. And it's just bent itself in a little bit from a little bit of collision. Could be net code, something like that as well. Tom Roberts is just sitting in behind nicely in that iron Acura. You can see I'm smelling that Hench should stick the nose out here, you would think. Or at a minimum, look for a switchback. Let's see what happens. Yep, switchback. He'll go from right then to left again, trying to get the run, but can't quite pull that. Just can't get that exit on the Ferrari. Stick the nose down the inside. No, this could go either way, John. I don't know where this is going to start. Hench is pushing all the limits and bounds, even on the curbing there. And Roskam's doing his best. Maybe there's going to be stick of the nose here. Could get it done in the braking. Let's have a look. No. Oh, he dives it down. If I'm Roskam, yep, too deep. Yep. Oh, but Roskam has to hit the brakes. I would be giving that back if I was Hench, potentially, because he's had to make a... Ooh, okay. I'm not going to go any further on that one, John, because I reckon that was a bit not very nice.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive, I reckon, there from the FTW Motorsports camp. Just going back to your comment about the damage, of course, Tom Hench spinning turn 14, connected with the wall on the inside towards the end of the spin. So that's where that damage has been picked up from. So maybe a new bumper being chucked on the Mustang during the pit stop. Going back again, we're rewinding the stream some more. Marcus Beifeld's wiper going. That's due to the marble build-up. Apparently the wiper actually clears the marbles off the windscreen in iRacing. Jaeger Gaming in the YouTube chat, helping us out here in the broadcast box. Some of us iRacers, some of us ACCers. So everything's a bit of a learning curve all round today in the comms box. Currently on your screen, so Harman and Langley find themselves together. That's Porsche on Acura as they head out onto the banking of turn 14 towards the start-finish line, and a big loss there from Heilmann as he comes off turn 14 towards the banking. The back end of that Porsche suddenly going into the inside wall. That's going to be a lot of damage. Let's have a look here over the curb, a little bit of straight wheeling the car, and the balance just all wrong as he came out of turn 14, and nothing the German driver there could do. Into the wall, back around again, and certainly gets it back going. I'm not sure if that car is severely damaged as we think. There's definitely got to be something awry with that car, but no meatball flag being shown to Benjamin Harman. The steering looks relatively straight as we head down here towards turn number 7. So Harman may have got very lucky with the iRacing code here, but certainly that Porsche is bent. There's no other word. The front end is skewed. The rear end looks relatively intact, and no bent steering, Mitch, so I can only assume all the suspension on 4 corners is straight enough, but that's just a big time loss for Benjamin Harman right there. He's dropped back nearly 9 seconds off the back of Langley, almost into the clutches in the background there. We saw Perez, but overcooking it at turn 12. I think there is going to be something wrong with the SJ&H car. He's bailing for the pit lane, so certainly something to be called there for the SJ&H crew. Into the pit lane comes Benjamin Harman. That's going to be a repair at least, probably fuel and tyres. So that's the first of the GTP pitters, other than Adrian Galeo, who of course we saw hard into the wall on the exit of 6. They do have a fast repair in the pocket, so this could be the time to use it, I would say, Mitch, and be a little bit more cautious through turn 14 over the next kind of 2 hours, 15-ish minutes and towards the front of the GTDs. Beidfeld still glued to the back of Donovan in this scenario. We see there the pit stops on the timing board in the top left-hand side of your screen. Of course, Galeo was in lap 6. We're now lap 30, and he's still trying to gain that time back in the triple three as Benjamin Harmon gets his stop underway there. But Beifeld still on the back, of course, of Donovan, and the McLaren looking a lot better on the brakes. But I think the grunt of the Mustang, like you say, Mitch, just kind of keeping that car in the top step of the podium provisionally. The number 340 Donovan currently at the wheel, of course, Beifeld at the wheel for the nearly on pace crew, and they're still managing, despite being nose to tail, they are pulling away from the HWT Motorsport car in P3. They're in a bit of a no man's land, 13.8 seconds off the back of this fighting duo, and nearly 6.5 seconds clear of Martin Varga just behind in the ROM Racing entry. So Alex Pilbeam doing a great job today as Benjamin Harmon gets back out underway. That's a 37.9 second pit stop. So fast repair definitely used, I would say. A normal pit stop, we're being told from our broadcaster Ted Edwards today. So fuel and tires given to the number 369. So the first, let's say, mandatory stop, should we say, Mitch, ticked off the list for today, and we should see a flurry of cars also in the next 15 minutes, I reckon, taking to the pit lane for their fuel and tires. So we'll see the pace difference between the 369, of course, the number 5 of Ashley Holland, as Beidfeld still etching to try and get past this Mustang, coming out onto the back straightaway down towards turn number 7. Beidfeld kind of half looking, but that is Holland in the background in the GTP, looking to try and put another lap on them, and getting to the awkward stage of the circuit where it is almost single file, where he had the half lazy spin at turn number 10 just a few laps ago, and bides his time very nicely, I would say, until the exit of 10, can stamp on the loud pedal and try and use the power of the GTD to get around. And it looks like the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry keeping to their racing line as intended, but of course that's also where Ashley Holland wanted to be, to try and get underneath the Mustang as they now follow suit through turn 13 and 14. Oh, and a mistake from Holland in 13. That's going to give the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry the wide line through 14. Could allow the nearly on pace car with a better run off of turn 14 onto the straightaway down towards turn 1. This is gifted Marcus Beidfeld the inside line into turn number 1, but we know the inside becomes the outside. Thomas Enger Sim Racing looks like they braked very early, gave up the position to make turn 1 less awkward, and now nearly on pace to the front of the GTD field. Marcus Beidfeld becomes your race leader after 32 laps of plugging away at the Mustang, up onto the top step of the podium provisionally, as Adrian Galeo comes through to put a lap on them as well.
Yes, the patience been rewarded, and I think I saw sort of what the strategy there was from Donovan. I think he went on the brakes a little bit too early, yes, but wanted to go earlier than Beifeld in the hope of maybe a switchback or trying to fool them into going deep on their braking and causing an issue, a mind punt from their side, but didn't seem to prevail, and Beifeld is in a prime position now. He will have saved some of the tyres and be able to get on with things. Donovan will have used a lot of fuel and a lot of tyres. Don't think he's in the best position. Should still be able to hold on at least at a minimum with the slipstream, but in the corners probably will be in a little bit of a pickle. But we'll see how that sort of pans out. One thing that we haven't mentioned yet, John, I know it's something that has come out since the last iRacing stream that we would have had here on RCI TV, is the announcement that the Aston Martin GT3 Evo is coming to iRacing, which is a cracking addition into the GT3 GTD class. So very much looking forward to seeing firstly how it sounds. It looks very good from the screenshots that they've given us, and the M4 GT3 Evo is coming for a free update for those that already have the M4, and that thing is a mean looking machine. So I'm very much looking to see how those two cars perform when they come out in around 2 or 3 weeks or so. It's going to be a cracking update. We see Florian Durkop in the pits, as generally, as you'll see, most of the GTPs will go probably 45 to 50 minutes on a stint, depending on if they're fuel saving, tyre saving, things like that. So Durkop in the pits, Langley continuing on, and just getting past Thibaut Roskam there. Adolfo Perez is still going as well, so maybe Maybe the Dirkop's going for an alternative strategy, or maybe they haven't done a lot of fuel saving. They've just sort of been on their own, and we'll have to see how that plays out for them. We can see Holland is in their own little bubble, and Dirkop in the pits. Should be around a 30-second or so pit stop for them. They'll take a new set of tyres and some more fuel, because of course the fuel will cover the tyres anyway, so you're kind of silly not to take tyres in the GTP. But of course, GTP cold tyres, John. Oh, goodness gracious me, John. That's Adolfo Perez has fallen victim to that chicane. That wheel is going absolutely nowhere. Let's have a look at the replay. I would say just a bit too much of a crunch on the chicane. Car looked fine through there, no real issues. Let's see how much of a munch on the chicane he's had. Oh, wow. That's a big hit. That is... that front right wheel, yes, that's not going to... The suspension's definitely not going to reconnect. Let's have a look. I don't know what... That's just... don't even know what brought Perez into that side of the curb. He's hit the first part of the curb and then it's bounced, and it's actually hit the end of the curbing through there, and that's what's put him in the wall. And that is extremely rough for Adolfo Perez, who's had to tow. I don't think they've used their fast repair yet, so I put my my money on that they'll use that and get back out there as soon as they can. Donovan back on the rear end of Marcus Byfeld now. And again, still been sneaking there, but hasn't been able to really get anything done. And maybe this is where he's just going to preserve those tyres a little bit now. Oh, that's probably a cut there for them, or 1x incident point for them. Now, might save a bit of fuel now and some tyres. I don't know which one will be a bigger concern for them here, but we'll see what happens down into turn 1, 2. And they're going down nicely. And a bit later on the break with Byfeld. And Donovan just doing nicely. Just to stick in that slipstream, that's all he really needs to do. And they're going down later on the break. And just doing nicely. Just he needs to do. Getting them maybe in the pits.
Yeah, potentially so. I mean, some races are won and lost on pit lane, aren't they? And certainly no Florian Dirkop 2 seconds quicker than Benjamin Heilmann through their pit stop. So that is certainly something to note there on your scoreboard or kind of bingo card or whatever you want to know on the piece of paper in front of you. Just going back to the Perez incident, certainly looked like the car didn't want to turn through the first part of the chicane and thought, you know what, I'm just going to open up the steering. And of course, as he did, the rear wheel catching on the inside of turn number 6 curbing and firing them off into the wall. So turn 6 claims yet another victim, of course, on that one. And then going back to your iRacing point, of course, the Aston Martin coming, the M4 GT3 Evo coming. Also a big GT4 update in the pipeline. Big GT4 update in the pipeline from the latest, of course, August development blog. Lots of things are going to be kind of mirrored over to the IMSA Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge. So that's certainly something to keep your eye on. Of course, lots of reworks in electronic systems, dampers, tire models, etc. So GT4 cars could be the next big thing within the world of iRacing.
New Mustang GT4.
And of course, as you say in my ears, a new GT4 joining the field in the form of the Ford Mustang. So if you do like your American V8s, there's another one you can add to the pack of cars. And Ted Edwards already knows apparently what he's spending his money on when the August update does, of course, come across your screen. Also a big UI update I'm reading in the blog as well, which looks like it's going to drag the UI into the kind of more modern era, I would say there, Mitch. Of course, we know the iRacing UI has been a little bit dated, a little bit old for some times. It served its purpose quite well, as expertly demonstrated by Ted on your screen. It does look very, very basic indeed. But the new one they previewed in the blog, again, looks fantastic. So plenty of things to come for iRacing, and hopefully plenty more things to come for iRacing and RCI in the future. It's been great from a commentary point of view to get involved with a different sim Predominantly, of course, we've been here for the world of ACC as we see Rassar trying up the inside of Tom Roberts, although not able to make a move stick. Roberts gets the better exit through 5 and 6, and the gap opens up once again. So Rassar free to have another stab at it later on in the lap. But we know, of course, we've been very active in the world of ACC. Again, another game that's kind of coming to the end of life, I would say. ACC Evo on the horizon, 0.3 being teased this week through the world of streamers, the multiplayer test events, and of course you can get your hands on the beta if you do find a code in the various discords lurking about at the moment. But again, another game on the horizon. iRacing still kind of fresh as ever, bringing new updates as Roberts has to cover off the inside line into 12, and Rassar trying for the old switchback through 13 into 14. Are they going to try and use the rear engine grip of that Porsche to pull itself off the corner a bit better? Looks like a much better run through turn 14. Roberts is going to have to pick a side, or we're going to be bump drafting our way down into turn number 1, and Roberts given just enough room towards the wall, and Rassar, I'm sure, is going to be on the flasher, not too happy with that one as Perez goes through up the inside into turn number 1. Roberts, he stood on the brakes just in time, got the car drawn up, and Rassar going again for the switch back through turn number 2 through 3, and maybe trying to set themselves up into 4, although the gap isn't there. Roberts covering off the inside again. Looks like Rassar going for the old up and under, and tit for tat we shall go one more lap. But as I keep trying to say, of course, lots of games on the horizon within the world of sim racing, and the RCI calendar this week. Of course, Monday this week coming, Monday the 1st of September, we're back to ACC with the Sylvia Series, aka the TCX Cup Season 2. Those guys are rolling into Zolder. Andy Boardman taking an early lead in the championship with wins at both Barcelona and Misano. And can he take a hat-trick on Mondays, or will it be Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber of the Rebound Racing duo to work together to maybe dethrone Boardman of his clean sweep so far, as we see Rassar and Roberts still trying to go at each other. Rassar over the curb, possibly into the grass through turn number 12 and into 13. Going to have to tuck back in once again as they head out on to the oval section of the circuit. And Friday the 5th this week, we're back in the world of LMU with our Fuji one-off. Still plenty of space left on that one over on the website as we take LMP2 and GT3 to the iconic Japanese circuit for 1 hour and 30 minutes of racing. Head on over to the website, racerci.com, where you can sign up for any of our events, day or night, as we see Rassar once again, the old up and under through 1 and 2, sets towards the outside of 4, and gets a much better run through 4 this time. There's certainly a Porsche gap lent on Roberts, I think, on the corner exit. Roberts has disappeared somewhere off to our right. He's backwards in the grass, through the gravel he goes, and I think, Mitch, there was contact between the two as they ran out of turn number 4. I think Rassar kind of gave the old hip and shoulder, and unfortunately, Roberts' car just a little bit upset, or maybe netcode. It looked certainly between the two like there could have been a touch or netcode at least, but Roberts coming off, unfortunately, on that one. Into the grass he goes, misses the wall, no harm, no foul, really. Just a big chunk of time loss as we kind of catch the tail end of it there, confirming it looks like netcode. They were close, but no contact was made, so very unfortunate for Roberts there. Off into the grass he goes, gets back underway, although considerable time loss drops him to P11 in GTD. As Marcus Beidfeld opening up the lead somewhat, 0.8 of a second now towards Donovan just behind. And imminently, Mitch, we should see the GTDs coming down the pit lane for their first round of stops.
Yes, too right. It'll be interesting to see sort of where they come out in relative to others. You know, different cars having different fuel tank sizes to fill up, and we'll have to see sort of where that plays out and bringing them back out onto the track. And Beifeld's just sort of holding nicely in the lead, but nothing too crazy. And I think Donovan's just trying to hold on to the tyres at this point. As you said, we should see should see sort of where, when they come into the pits, probably the next 5 minutes or so. I'd think that generally a lot of the cars won't go much further than just over an hour in most situations. Of course, they have more than happy for them to prove us wrong, but we will see how this one plays out for Donovan. There could be maybe an undercut or an overcut looking at here for sure. And we'll see. They've P2 in the GTP. We're just being told it's in the pits. So Ashley Holland and the Muppets Racing is in the pits. But of course, they're not net P2. They'll be around sort of P5, around that mark. So we'll see sort of where that brings them out in the grand scheme of things. We'll just see GTP going around the outside. That's not the spot to go around the outside. Oh, let's give him a shove. Oh, that was close. It's little touch and go. That's Michael Opolka trying to get past, but was denied by Donovan for a minute there, and it's actually lost Donovan probably a tenth or two as a result. So probably not the wisest, but unless it's, no, I guess it's not a second. But you can easily make that up in the pits. So we will have to see how that actually plays out for that Thomas Enger Sim Racing team, as we're coming up to 2 minutes to the top of the hour, where we'll have seen, I'd say, a lot of the GTDs at a minimum will start to pit. We haven't seen any pit yet, but we will see how it goes. I would say we'll probably see some more victims as well, John, of the chicane there, because we've already seen two or three people actually fall victim to that, and we're only, well, that was within 45 minutes, so I'm hoping we don't see 3 every 45 minutes, or else it's going to be a long day for some of the teams that have already used their fast repair. I think they'll have learned their lesson, but you never know in some of these situations how things can change. It go from I'm not going to touch too much of the curb to, oh my goodness, I'm in a battle, I need to use as much of the track as I can to be as fast as possible, where that's where the mistakes will be made. So we'll just have to play it cool and see how it goes in these last 2 hours. The track temperature's sort of holding around that 43-degree mark, almost 29 in the ambient, as we can see Langley in the pits. So he comes in almost an hour into his stint, unless he pitted, I think he might have pitted earlier. I feel like I saw him pit at a random time. Could be wrong. But anyway, let's have a look. I think it's just a quick little off track here for the Muppets. Oh, that's cold tyres right to a T there on the GTPs, and just cuts straight through and continues on. That is not the place you want to be. Oh, and all the debris off the tyres onto the track, all the gravel. So Adolfo Perez, after that massive shunt into the wall at the chicane, it's just getting past Herbert Smith now for Muppets Racing. Makes that look relatively easy. Maybe it's just cold tyres for Hereford Smith still. And GT3 is Adam Sarkozy's coming into the pit, so first one to pit for them. We'll see how that one sort of plays out. Maybe that'll start a train of people coming into the pits. No surprise it being a Mustang, though. It's absolutely chugging on its fuel. And all GTPs will have pitted once, at least when Langley comes out. So that may change the strategy for some. I'm not seeing any other GT3s come into the pits at this point, but I'd say if we're seeing one Mustang come in, we'll see the other Mustangs come in momentarily.
Yeah, normally one jumps and everybody follows suit, don't they? As Donovan comes down the pit lane to make their pit stop. The sister Thomas Enger entry, and right on cue, HWT Motorsports, the number 42 of Alex Pilbeam, they're also into the pit lane. Tom Bryant alluding to earlier, very surprised at how high up they qualified, and certainly so. Alex Pilbeam has done a fantastic job in the opening stint, so fingers crossed. Of course, he can keep that momentum going as we head into the second part of the race. Of course, here comes Matthias Letteo coming down the pit lane, so it looks like nearly on pace. Marcus Beidfeld and Martin Varga have managed to extend their fuel out somewhat. Tom Hench also going for another lap around the Indianapolis circuit. Theobald Roskam next through the complex at the end of the lap. He peels the Ferrari into the pit lane. And just behind the Roxy Porsche, also following suit, a very fast pit entry there from the Cuton Round Racing team. Rassar doing a fantastic job, I would say, despite all the kind of troubles they've had during their stint, getting battered about a little bit, finding themselves spun at turn 14, keeping out of all the oncoming cars, and that brings the Ferrari and the Wheelie Slow Racing car also into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Benjamin Harmon, after their kind of off-brand pit stop, they're on much hotter tyres than, of course, Ewan Langley's Thomas Enger Sim Racing Acura would be on. Their stop a little bit longer, 42 seconds versus 37.9, as the Thomas Enger Sim Racing Mustang comes out of the pit lane. I'm not sure which one of those that could be. But certainly staying way out of the way of the fight, almost making it a bit awkward for their teammate, having to go around the outside of turn 4 over the inside curbing there. That's Tobias Eleveld now in the car. That's the number 340. So, of course, Donovan giving up that car to them. Zarkoski has stayed in the sister Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry. Tom Bryant now into the HWT Motorsport Mustang. Fingers crossed they can keep themselves out of trouble. Looks like Leteo's going for a double stint. They remain in the ERE Race E Sport Team McLaren. Theobald Roskam still showing as driving the Rebound Racing car. Rassar still into the Porsche, the number 690 Roxy car. And in towards the GTP entries. Looks like everybody other than Holland and Perez in the Muppets and 07 Racing car have stayed in, as Marcus Beidfeld goes for another lap. Definitely doing a serious bit of fuel saving, I would say, during the opening laps, or the opening time of this race, should we say. We're 3 minutes past the hour now, and the nearly on pace car going for another lap.
Yeah, the McLaren is actually very good on fuel, and it's got a pretty good fuel tank. Let's have a look. This is Letao. Not again. Bonk. Oh, that is a bonk. That's not the last person to fall victim for that.
Yeah, not the last, and certainly won't be the first, but big damage there, Mitch.
Yeah, that's not going to buff out anytime soon. Bit of scraping. It'll be the steering might be out slightly. Probably hurt confidence. Some of these things can be repaired. Other things cannot, but the car is straight and going in a straight line, and that's most important in this situation. And black flag. Oh, that Jan Jaeger and the 96 car got a black flag for I would say speeding in the pit lane. Well, that's not good. I'm hoping that's only like a stop go 10 or a stop go 5 or whatever, not like a stop go 25, which generally is what a lot of them can be. It would be very rough there for them. And we will see. Oh, that's a bit of a dive there on Jan Jaeger from one of the GTPs just coming on through. He'll have to jump into the pits in the 96 FTW Motorsport red car to serve that stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's quite a long pit lane here at Indianapolis, and it can get boring. I understand you want to go fast, but I don't recommend that strategy to make up some lost time. But we'll let him serve that one out, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a back foot for the FTW Motorsport red entry of Jan Jaeger and Tom Hench, of course, starting at the back of the GTD grid, trying to fight their way back forward, but certainly undoing themselves somewhat as we make it past the first hour. 1 hour, 6 minutes into the race so far. And it's that time, of course, in every RCI broadcast as we see the FTW Motorsport car coming down the lane to serve their penalty. Just to the left of your screen there, Jan Jaeger stopping in the box. And Mikael Sundström also now into the nearly on pace car. So nearly on pace finally managing to get their pit stop done. Beifeld out, Sundström in. Let's see what the Swede can do in his next stint. We are coming up, or we have passed the hour, should we say, where we normally take our breaks, elongated out, just to see through the pit stops and see where everybody ends up and catch you all up on the driver changes. We're going to head to a quick break. We're going to duck away, get ourselves refreshed. Mitch Hobbs is going to step out of the booth, and Jack Mays is going to step into the booth, and I will be with you alongside him till the checkered flag to bring you all the action from the RSS Endurance Series. Of course, partners, bottom left-hand side of your screen, they're all down in the description below, and we'll give you a quick run through when we come back after the break. But we'll leave you on board with Ewan Langley as he sets his sights onto the back of Benjamin Heilmann's Porsche just ahead for the Speed Juice and Horseflow. This will be for the bottom step of the podium. Langley already taking about half a second out of Heilmann in the last few laps. So we're going to step away, we're going to come back, and we're going to see where Ewan Langley ends up. Bear with us, and we'll be right back with you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the RSS Endurance Series here on RCI TV. And as you can see, we're live from the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But of course, it's the road course layout that plays host to round 6 of the championship today. You join us just as the Speed Juice and Horseflow car comes down the pit lane. Benjamin Heilman surrenders to Harry Conway. And as we have a change in the car, we also have a change in the box. Joining me alongside for the remainder of the race, Jack Mays. Welcome on in, Jack. It's been a bit of a chaotic race so far, but hopefully the next hour and a half should kind of calm down a bit, of course, as drivers spread out, find their feet. But again, talent changes, pace changes, and suddenly we see those cars brought back together once again.
Yeah, I'm honestly just excited to be here. Glad to watch cars drive in circles more and more. Possibly my favorite thing to do. But hoping for, a bit of excitement. I was hoping to catch the first hour, but lo and behold, I messed up my time zones and, was almost prepared to be here an hour late. I think we're seeing the Wheelie Slow team DNFing just randomly there. Not sure perhaps why that would have happened. Never good to see a DNF on the field, but happy to be here, Mr. Dalton. Happy to be with you, making my comms debut with you as at the helm.
Yeah, I'd say probably not a bad comms debut to have, but yeah, iRacing certainly proven to be popular within the RCI segment. Strong sign-ups at the start of the season. We've tailed off towards the end, but of course we still do have a round to go. So if you fancy a one-off sign-up, you fancy yourself 5 hours at Road Atlanta on September 27th, then by all means sign up over on the website and get involved in that one. Also on the website at the moment, the Friday Fuji one-off, that's coming up in the world of Le Mans Ultimate. That's this Friday, Friday the 5th of September, I believe. I can't believe we're already in September. 2025 has flown by so far. And of course, on Monday, we do have the TCX Cup Season 2, aka the Sylvia Series. They roll into Zolder. Andy Boardman taking a hat-trick of wins, or possibly taking, a hat-trick of wins so far, winning Barcelona, winning Misano. Can he take it at Zolder, or will it be the Rebound Racing crew, Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber, to undo the clean sweep? Tom Bryant was up into third, as we saw in the break, Jack, but unfortunately a mistake somewhere along the line has meant he has dropped to P4. Gabriel Schmidt now for the ROM Racing GT3 McLaren up into P3, but Alex Pilbeam doing a fantastic job, so I wonder if we'll see Alex back in the car towards the end of the race for one kind of final attack to see if they can catch the McLaren and get themselves on towards the bottom step of the podium.
I'm interested to see. I haven't really watched a whole lot of iRacing before. I'm interested to see how sort of strategy and maybe driving style differs a little bit from LMU, what have become a little bit more accustomed to as far as multi-class. As we're going to get a race replay here on board with the cute and round racing Porsche just kind of stopping on circuit briefly. Perhaps to let the GTP through, but that's a incredibly strange way to do that. Hopefully everything's all right on board.
Yeah, hopefully so on that one. Maybe a fumble of a button push. I mean, we've seen that a lot in ACC, and I know in ACC at least you have to bring the cars to a standstill. Some of them to be able to fire them again, so possibly what's happened there with Ressar. Of course, he's on a double stint at the moment in the Roxy Porsche, so maybe feeling a little bit fatigued. But like you say, Jack, I can't imagine a car coming to a complete stop to yield to a GTP. Some of these guys don't even want to yield under a normal racing condition, so very generous if that was the case in that sense. Zarkowski is heading on to the back of the HWT Motorsport car. Mustang on Mustang action at the moment. The Thomas Enger entry, not the best of starts to the race, although managing to kind of claw themselves back up into the slipstream of Tom Bryant down into turn number 1. I don't think they're going to be close enough unless Bryant makes a mistake, but drawing up the car nicely for 1 and 2. Of course, the inside becomes the outside. We've seen a lot of switchbacks happening around into turn 1 and 2, and even into 3 and 4 we've seen previously as well, before the guys head through the piff path chicane of 5 and 6 out onto what is essentially the back straight, should we say, in finger quotations. And it's a good passing place into 7 if you can shoehorn open the door, although not too much going on. We see another look there from Sarkoski, but nothing to be had, not close enough, but drawing up a little bit closer, corner by corner, maybe setting themselves up for a slingshot down into turn number 1. The HWT car certainly looking a lot more composed and a lot kind of tighter on the lines there. Sarkoski definitely missed the apex of turn 10. That's not set them up well for 11 and 12. And Tom Bryant already kind of streaking ahead, trying to break the toe, I would assume, before they head out onto the banking. But I think Tom Bryant might be safe for another lap here, Jack.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Mustang on Mustang. I'm interested to see whether Tom Bryant fights this too hard. And I noticed, at least while we were on break, keeping an eye on the timing sheets, fell off the back of the McLaren ahead, and I'm wondering if maybe something's wrong with the car, maybe a bit of fuel saving strategy. But for right now, it seems like he's pushing as hard as he should be, at least to keep this other V8 car sitting squarely behind him.
It's the only problem, isn't it, when you get the same kind of manufacturers together? It's a bit of a, where do you find the advantage on the sister car? Could it be in setup? Could it be in corner exit, as the Thomas Enger car has to dab the brake to allow the HWT car ahead through the chicane, and that's going to bleed them some time as they head down towards turn number 7. You can see there the gap opening up ever so slightly. Sarkoski back onto the brakes and over the curb. These Mustangs can really chomp the curbs here at Indianapolis. We were speaking earlier on as well during the break about the FTW Motorsport red entry car. That's Jan Jaeger, currently at the wheel of the number 96. They started at the back of the grid in the number 96. They kind of propelled themselves towards the midfield almost. They are on to the back, I think. That's not for position. That's the Ferrona. That could be. I'm very confused there. I'm not sure if the timing's doing me dirty, but that is definitely a Ferrari ahead that we're seeing at the moment, although Jan Jaeger, of course, serving a penalty, so probably a lap behind, I would say, on that one. That's where I'm... there we go. That's not a Ferrari. That is a McLaren. So the helicam doing me very dirty here. There we go. We see the TV cam face on. That is the McLaren of Matthias Lateo, who's in for the double stint, as we see a change of position at the head of the field. Could traffic have played a little bit of a part in that? Harry Conway getting in and amongst Tom Bryant in the Mustang, going the long way around of turn number 4, just about managing to hold on with the downforce from the GTP, putting a car between themselves and the Thomas Enger car behind. That's Ewan Langley actually chasing to put a lap on them, I beg your pardon, in that case. But the Thomas Enger entry of Adam Sarkoski has made their way through up into P4. They can now try and set themselves up towards the back of Gabriel Schmidt in the Ron Racing car. But I was saying, sorry, the FTW Motorsport car having a great start up into the mid-pack of GTD, and then unfortunately falling back down, falling a foul to a pit lane speeding penalty as well during the first round of stop. It's really put them on the back foot. And Jack, these are your championship leaders heading into this round. They've got a very comfortable lead. It was 315 points to 214 points. But, I mean, we've seen upwards of 60 points for a win here in the RSS Endurance Series. So this could be a big chunk of a lead lost. And this could put the pressure on them as they head to the final round at Road Atlanta in September.
I think they're probably thinking to themselves right now, all right, we're in a bit of a spot. It's time to, minimize mistakes 100%. It's to not make this, well, ultimately you can't make it any worse considering you're already in last place, but you still want to try to minimize mistakes, maybe get a couple positions by the end of the race if they're as quick as it seems they can be, and bring it to the end. As now we're back on board with Tom Bryant after losing a position momentarily, and now we're on board with our overall race leader, also in an FTW Motorsport car. They seem like they're a strong group of drivers, I must say, as this is sort of my first introduction to their organization, and seems like a force to be reckoned with, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've been very dominant through the RSS Endurance Series so far, and definitely setting themselves up to be a bit of a formidable force in the realm of iRacing. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Mustang absolutely dominated the first couple of rounds with us here, and kind of led, much like the GTP car is doing now, where they, of course, have kind of led the race quite commandingly by, 30 seconds to a minute, and really cementing themselves as an early force to be reckoned with, everything that we see in the season. And we see on the timing tower there on the top left, positions gained and lost. Of course, this goes from the starting position. So Florian Derkop, of course, up 1. Opolka up 1, of course. Evan Langley up 2, along with Hereford Smith in the Muppets racing car. Down 1, Harry Conway in the Speed Juice and Horseflow car. But down 5 is actually Thomas Aguero in the VFT Esports. And those were the guys that were chasing ROM Racing, who were actually called CRF Motorsport last time we checked in with those guys. So the championship fight still kind of wide open. GTP championship leaders currently in P2. So that's the ROM Racing car, 293 points. 305 points to them. And the VFT Esports car that's chasing them, the 333, they're on 293 points. And the race leader at the moment, on your screen, Florian Derkop, they're actually on 231 points. So I said when we rounded through the standings that they were kind of out of contention, Jack. But with the bad position here, we've got, I'm not sure if Aguero there touched the wall, but definitely a big puff of smoke off the back of the BMW as he rounded out onto the banking. Of course, with the poor finishing positions of those around them, could the FTW Motorsports car, the number 95, sneak their way to the top end of the field as we head towards Road Atlanta, as we head obviously in September? That could be one of the cars to really keep your eye on, the FTW Motorsports camp, with a kind of a late run of points.
It seems like it. I mean, leading in GT3 and possibly, squeaking their way into the GTP top step, I'm sure. I mean, everybody, when they go racing, they look to win the whole thing, but it's not always a reality. But right now, I imagine they're sitting pretty, running P1 about halfway into the race. Right now, I think it's about not necessarily maximizing their pace, but minimizing mistakes, keeping it between the white lines, and getting strategy right. And 25 seconds is not exactly the biggest gap in the world when it comes to an hour and a half of racing, but it's probably feels pretty comforting right now.
I mean, 25 seconds, that's a couple of mistakes you definitely got to play with in that lead, or possibly one big mistake that leads to an extra pit stop. So you really got to be careful. Like you say, you don't want to get overconfident, as we see that Aguero soaring past the Ferrari we're riding on board with of Martino in the eSIM Racing Winter segment camp. Of course, they're just 30 seconds behind the Roxy Porsche, just ahead of Rassar, still in that car on a double stint. So a few drivers electing for the double stint, some of them electing to, of course, give over the car to a fellow competitor. So some drivers are going to be fresher than others during this stage of the race, and that's something else to account for. Of course, if you're starting to get tired and fatigued, you're making mistakes, it's, your pace is going to soon fall off. And if somebody's quite fresh into the car, they're going to be the ones that are going to be chasing you down and really chomping at the back end of you before you know it. So, it's kind of almost set in stone, you want to say, at this point, with the big gaps that we do have in the field. Of course, 26 seconds out front, Florian Derkop. Again, Opolka taking a second out of him in the last lap or so. So again, it ebbs and flows between the two. Ewan Langley, 26 seconds back. We then got the Muppets racing car, 43 seconds back. But again, anything can happen in the stages of endurance racing. So it's always good to check in now and again. We did allude to our partners, of course, before we went to the break. They've been revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. You can find all their links down below in the description. But it's good to take a little bit of a dive into the companies that do, of course, partner with us on RCI TV and RCI in general, and help pay some of the bills that are associated with us. Of course, the title sponsor of this series, Ready Set Sim, where you can build your dream sim rig in seconds with their sim rig builder. Their mission is to simplify sim racing by providing a comprehensive and personalized experience whether you're a novice looking to get started or an experienced racer seeking to optimize your setup. And of course, don't forget, they have contributed 400 euros of prize pool for this series, offered alongside our first time ever RCI trophies. So something exclusive you can get your paws on for competing in this one. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7, which still boggles my mind to this day. Available in 9 languages, giving you access to setups, racing lines, and data analysis. Why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Check the link in the description and take your racing performance to the next level. Greenman Gaming, where you can of course buy games and game keys via Greenman Gaming. Get the best prices and awesome bundles, and of course exclusive game deals daily. And a big thank you to those of you that have used our affiliate link. I have been told it's been quite popular since we've launched that one, so a big thank you to you guys. IMB Racewear, providing fully custom designs to allow sim and real life racers to make the impact they've always wanted in their clothing. From gloves to socks to jackets, you can be sure that every piece is crafted with precision, style, and performance in mind, giving racers the confidence to stand out both on and off the track. Moser Racing, who we were thrilled to partner with, I think last year, it's been a little while, I think, with Moser already. A leader in high-quality sim racing gear, Moser Racing has everything you need to boost your racing experience, including this week, they, of course, announced a new set of direct drive wheelbases. So the R21 and the R25 Ultra, designed to kind of replace their flagship models. So get your paws on one of those if you are looking for an upgrade. And most recently, Pimax. I learned a little bit about these guys before we came on air, but being the first VR manufacturer to put 4K resolution in a VR headset, followed by 8K, and now they're aiming to get 12K inside a headset as we see the FTW Motorsports car, the race leader, down the pit lane. This is a bit out of sequence, a bit earlier than we were kind of anticipating, I believe. As they come off the speed limiter, they drop down to P3. Ted in our ears saying that it is about right for where they need to be. So the first of the pit stoppers, Florian Durkop even, still staying in that car. So this is going to be a third stint under his belt, including qualifying. So the man is on an absolute mission as he begins to get those tires back up to temperature in the Acura. But as I was saying, VR, of course, Pimax being the first 4K, and they're aiming for 12K inside a VR headset. So that's going to be something immense when they achieve that one. Overseeing the concept of development, production of its own VR headsets, you can be sure Pimax will deliver an exceptional product. And if you are looking to pick one up, code RCI10, that's RCI10, at checkout will save you 10% on your purchase and help us out at RCI as well. So if you are looking to get a VR headset, Pimax might be the company for you. But 12K in a headset, I think, you know, just a few years ago, Jack, we weren't looking at mega resolutions in VR headsets, but now we're looking at 12K directly in front of your face. That's an achievement in its own.
Yeah, that's actually super, super cool. I didn't realize that. I've heard, you know, Pimax been mentioned in the other broadcasts that I've been a part of, and I am a bit of a VR enjoyer myself. When I'm competing, though, I find it hard to actually keep it on my face. It gets a little warm, it gets a little heavy, and I kind of look around too much. But 12K in a headset sounds amazing. Might need to look into that in a little while. That sounds fantastic.
So certainly an achievement in itself. I mean, if I was looking for a VR headset, yeah, definitely Pimax would be up there on the cards. We saw Florian Durkop, though, just now trying to get to grips with the cold tires once again. Coming up onto the banking turn 14, losing the rear end almost of the number 95. Kept it out of the wall and kept it out of trouble, but you can see they're weaving to try and get heat into the tires, and off at turn 7. Commits to the straight line already. We saw the Muppet Sim Racing team doing similar earlier on when they couldn't get their car turned in at turn number 7. Elected to straight line the complex and certainly take a penalty point to their name within the world of iRacing. So tires, cold tires, should we say, certainly being on the top of everyone's talking list. We were chatting earlier on, Jack. We were looking at Florian Durkop's stream. His stream title didn't fill us with too much inspiration. It was something like cold tires will definitely not survive or something to that degree. And certainly the first mistake we've seen from the young German driver. So eyes peeled on the FTW Motorsport car as the fatigue might be creeping in at this point. Triple stints to the number 95's name, but it does, of course, allow Michael Opolka out front. Ewan Langley 27 seconds behind him, and Florian 25 seconds behind for the top step of the podium. So the GTD battle still kind of open in a sense, but again, not so much as we kind of look towards the GTD field, which is a little bit closer up and down the timing gates. Of course, we do have the Ready Set Sim on the title sponsor. And alongside that, we urge drivers to send in their sim rigs with a little bit of a breakdown of what they're using. So looking towards kind of steering wheels, wheelbases, pedals, and what it's all basically mounted to. Give us a picture. We sent it off to RSS, and they knocked up these very fancy on-screen graphics for us. So here we have Joe Dorber's rig. We've discussed this a few times in the stream. Of course, he is a Rebound Racing driver. Normally find him in this car on your screen at the moment, the 777, currently Theobald Roskam at the wheel of the Ferrari 296. Joe has been in our YouTube chat earlier on, so I know he is dipping in and out. But for Joe Dorber, it's a quadruple screen setup, one up top, three down below. Of course, sides in left and right, main windscreen out the front. Asher F64, I think that is, V3, mounted to a Simucube 2 Pro, Husingveld pedals, and all mounted to a Motus S Dream rig, which I can't say I've heard of, but looks like your typical kind of 80/20 profile rig. Very versatile, very customizable, and very easy to add bits on. Looking fantastic, I think, Jack. And one of my goals for my sim rig is to get that monitor up top, just for a little bit of extra information, because you can never have too much information in the middle of a race.
Yeah, I'm still at this point looking to get a triple monitor set up. I'm still just running a single, but it's doing me well. Definitely some rig envy after seeing that, but it is also super cool to see what certain drivers are running as far as, wheelbases. Everyone has preference. Everyone sort of gets stuck into one thing, so it's always interesting to see, and gives me some inspiration for the future, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jesse always kind of reminisce in our broadcast, a bit like kind of old men sat in the rocking chair in the corner, remembering back to yesteryear. Of course, sim racing kind of, it's blown up so much in the last 5 to 10 years, let's say, compared to, some 20 years ago when you only had, very basic wheels, 90-degree left and right. It was, belt driven, or even in some case kind of cogs and gears. There was no belt even in there to simulate anything. And everything has come such a long way since when we first started sim racing to where we are now. A lot of people started on desks. They've moved to 80/20 rigs. Like you say, some people still on single screens, some on triples, quads, ultra wides, VR. It's come such a long way. It's crazy to think, I think, is where I'm going with my point. It's reminiscing back to how they used to be to where we are now. And, drivers on entry-level gear can be as fast as those on hundreds of thousands of pounds of gear. We've even gone as far as getting haptics into sim racing now, pedal vibrators, cooling chairs with dedicated AC pumps down the side of them. It boggles my mind how far this super niche hobby, I guess you could say, has become. And it's really kind of approached to the masses now. You speak to people in the real world that say, I've got a little setup at home. I've got a fold-out rig. I've got, a desk set up. It's so accessible, I think, is what I'm trying to say, that, absolutely anybody can kind of get involved with this. You don't even have to have a massive budget to be fast, but having that budget does make it easier to be fast, but you can still compete on some of the smallest of budgets in sim racing. And it's so accessible, so many competitions now. It's great to see.
Yeah, I love it. I personally am one of those people that, because of the accessibility of sim racing, I've sort of been able to join in the hobby in the past couple of years. It's been great. And after all, you can't go without saying how, sometimes the really, really quick ones don't even bother to have a steering wheel at all and just show up with a controller and just kick everybody's teeth in, which I think is unbelievable in a sense when, I'm looking at quick cars and it's like, oh, hey, they're on a controller, by the way. And I'm like, okay, I don't even understand how that's possible, but it's awesome. It's great. I think more people should go racing, because then it just gives me something to watch and gives me people to go wheel to wheel with.
Yeah, I mean, Grim Lilith, one of the RCI members, we're looking at you here for controllers. One of the fastest kind of pair of hands, should we say, in the West. Very quick. When they end up being on any RCI broadcast, really, they always put on a great show and always super competitive. And even when Grim overtakes me, it winds me up so much that they're on controller. And you're sat there with the wheel and pedals and, all the fancy gimmicks that you could ever have. And Grim, just like you say, kicks your teeth in with a controller. It's so frustrating. But, like you say, it's so accessible. Controller. I've even seen guys knocking out 216s at Spa on a mouse and keyboard on Reddit, which is, absolutely crazy to think. Mouse and keyboard steering. It was something of like, yesteryears, like GP2 days. We're talking here with, Jeff Cramon games. But mouse and keyboard, it still works in the current setup. You just don't have the feeling that you get through a wheel. So anything's possible in the world of sim racing. I think that's why we love it so much here at RCI. Back to the event, though, at hand, of course, we've not really given you much of an update, but Opelka still out front to Ewan Langley. Florian Durkop, now those tyres are up to temperature, beginning to chunk down the lead that Ewan Langley has over them. Hereford Smith still clawing on in the Muppets racing car, and Harry Conway etching away at their gap with the VFT Esports BMW on a bit of a comeback, trying to claw what they can out of the series currently, as we see two pink Porsches passing each other. Mikael Sundstrom putting on a great show in the GTD class, still at the head, as very conveniently coming through turn one, just ahead of the car we were watching at the time, but they're still ahead of Tobias Eleveld now in the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry. Gabriel Schmidt still for the ROM Racing McLaren in P3. Zarkoski in P4. Tom Bryant hasn't been able to kind of stick with the back of the Thomas Enger Mustang. They've dropped off the back somewhat, and Matthias Lateo still in the ERE Race Esports team. They're putting on a fantastic job, currently fending off Theobald Roskam, who is just in the front of shot here, just ahead of your GTD race leader. As we say, we've had one DNF, Tom Roberts, so we're down to 17 from the 18 that started. But even though it's a small grid, Jack, there's going to be plenty of points to be had for the drivers that did turn up today.
And ultimately, their loss is your gain in a lot of sense. If there's less cars on circuit, the point spread is going to be greater across the field. The point spread is going to be thinner across the field, but greater points for, some of the teams that maybe had a couple off races and need a couple good points days. I mean, hey, there's, a handful less cars that are going to be in front of me, a handful of less cars to have to overtake. We call it that. Those are freebies, and we love freebies in sim racing.
Love freebies in all of life, I think. It's nothing better than a free something from someone, especially in today's day and age. As Michael Opelka for the ROM Racing Porsche 963 entry, they kind of gingerly come out on cold tires, I was going to say, but looping it round in turn number one. Those Michelins aren't going to be all too happy. Back underway, the 963 gets, although a little bit of a time loss and some dirty new tires to boot with the coldness isn't going to be particularly nice for the number 9. But back underway, no harm, no foul, no damage. And they kind of set their sights onto now beginning their next stint to try and get those tires back into the operating window. Of course, this will be, again, another triple stint on the GTP cards for Opelka in this Porsche. Of course, Florian Durkop now up into P2. And again, once the pit stop cycle through with Ewan Langley, Florian should make his way back to the top step of the podium for today's race. Harry Conway, of course, on the kind of off cycle, so we shouldn't expect to see him down the lane anytime soon. Benjamin Harmon setting him up for a good second half of the race. P5 currently for the SJ&H car. And Thomas Aguero still not able to catch the 963, which I was quite surprised about. I thought the championship contenders would really have some pace under them today, and certainly come back off that big accident earlier on. But of course, it's always really hard, Jack. I speak about this a lot in the esports races, when when you're in such a kind of stacked grid and you make such a major mistake, should we say, in the case of the VFT esports that fired themselves off at the Piff Path chicane, when you make such a big mistake like that and you lose so much time, it's so hard to gain it back because everybody here is on the top level. You know, they're drilling in lap time after lap time. It's really, really hard to kind of get back underway. As I'm not sure what we're watching here. This is the VFT esports accident. That was actually out of turn 14. Oh, actually, this isn't what I thought it was in my head. Ted is as confused as I am. I don't think I've seen this one. This might explain the massive time loss that I'm trying to explain right now. Oh, this is from practice. We're being told Ted really rewinding the clock back here, causing all of the confusion for us. I think this is the one we wanted to see. He's got so many replays queued up, bless him. Here he goes through 5 and 6 over the curb, big snap off into the wall, and this is the reason for the big time loss for the VFT esports crew. So back to my point, when you're in such a stacked grid, it's so hard to get time back when things like this happen.
Yeah, it really seems like. I mean, I've been keeping my eyes glued to the timing screen, and I'm absolutely super impressed by the consistency of a lot of these cars and also the equal pace. I mean, this isn't equal machinery. Like, this isn't, we're not doing cup racing, and I mean, it's rather impressive. There's definitely a few standouts. I think the FTW I've noticed making the biggest moves as far as lap time. Granted, they are fresh out the pits on fresh tires, and that would tend to lead to a bit of extra pace, but everyone's sort of holding firm, not moving around too much as far as standings. I mean, I see the Cutin round there have closed a couple of seconds to Tiabat Roskam ahead, but definitely, I will say, I am very surprised. Wasn't exactly expecting the amount of struggle that these GTP cars are having on cold tires. Not used to seeing that. Wondering if that's I know that hypercars can be quite difficult to drive on cold tires, but seeing experienced drivers even struggling that much was a bit of a surprise to me, and it must be just how on edge they get with zero temperature in them.
Yeah, we spoke earlier on as well. It's a bit of a learning curve for today's race. Some eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that a few teams have changed cars for this round, and that's because of a game-breaking bug, essentially, with the Cadillac that we see so prevalently in the championship. I mean, the top 10 filled by 8 Cadillacs, so it's quite a popular choice amongst all the teams at the beginning of the series. But basically, a game-breaking bug where the Cadillac doesn't deploy its energy after about 5 or 6 laps. So you basically see a massive drop off in lap time after that. And of course, with these stints, you know, being just over a minute a lap, say, let's argument's sake, kind of 40 minutes or so, it's quite a lot of time loss that you're going to get versus somebody in, say, like the Porsche 963, the Acura ARX06. Even if we had a Ferrari or anything like that in the grid, it would still be a big time loss. So lots of teams trying to learn new cars, trying to learn new setups, and of course, how these cars drive. It's been a bit of a late change for some of the drivers, as we see the Muppets Racing entry getting back underway. Ashley Holland now back at the wheel of that car. Started the beginning of the race, and I think we'll probably see him now until the end, and coming out of the pit lane, keeps it nice and tidy, short shifting to try and minimize the wheel spin, and he gets safely through the first couple of turns, as we see a race replay here of the HWT Motorsport car of Tom Bryant. Let's have a look what's happened here. This is through turn 3, coming up into 4, brakes on the curb and just loses the rear end ever so slightly into 4, back onto the circuit, drags a lot of gravel back on with him in the backer shot there. The FTW Motorsport car gaining a lap back. That's Jan Jaeger still at the wheel of that one. Gaining the lap back, but a big time loss there for Tom Bryant, and actually loses another position. Matthias Lateo, just front of shot there in the McLaren, has gone through into P5. So Tom Bryant now down into P6. It's not gone well so far, given the efforts of Alex Pilbeam in the opener, keeping the car up inside that top 3.
Yeah, it definitely seems like maybe a little bit of a stint to forget for Tom Bryant. But I mean, granted, that was well held, keeping that car in a straight line and getting it back on the circuit quickly and safely. Hopefully, maybe fight back against the eerie McLaren that's ahead. We'll see. I mean, right now he's being chased by another Mustang, which obviously is looking to lap. But before too long, maybe, hopefully, maybe possibly, another Mustang will join the chase, join the fight, and we'll see a little bit of wheel to wheel.
A little bit of Mustang Cup maybe heading onto your screen soon as a few of them possibly get together. It is Mikael Sundstrom, though, out front, still gaining time, actually. The gap's up from 19 seconds to just over 21 seconds now, so a good 2 laps gained since we last checked in with the GTD field. Of course, Eleveld for Thomas Henger Sim Racing still behind Rom Racing in P3. Ewan Langley still out front, yet to take his second pit stop. He last pitted lap 44. Florian Durkop was down the lane lap 73. We're now on lap 81. So hopefully we should start seeing a flurry of GTPs coming down the lane as they staggered themselves through on that one. Of course, the Rom Racing Michael Opalka, despite the time loss, 50 seconds behind Florian Durkop. So again, that's a gap that's definitely opened up. Harry Conway only 11.5 seconds underneath him, with Thomas Aguero 5 seconds off the back. So Aguero looking to try and capitalize back. 6.97 seconds or so was the last time I think we checked in. So even Aguero is beginning to gain slightly on the back of Conway. Alejo for the 07 Racing Pink Big Porsche, just ahead of Ashley Holland. So again, that's another fight that's kind of been ebbing and flowing. But again, 07 Racing still yet to make their stop. Lap 45, they were last down the lane. Lap 84 was Holland's last stop. So that should switch back once everybody serves their stop once again. Ted Edwards giving us a bit of a fact check in our comms chat. It's actually 100 years of Goodyear this year, which is something I didn't know. But apparently we're from the 100th anniversary Goodyear blimp currently, I think is what Ted is aiming here. But yeah, it's something you don't often think about, how long companies have truly been around in the products that they drive. We see businesses, maybe not a great advertisement here for Goodyear, but we see businesses a lot of the time. They come and go throughout the world. We see them start, flourish, kind of drop off, and that's the end of them. But to survive 100 years in business, that's a real achievement, I reckon, Jack. And I think there's probably companies that have been around even longer that are still around with us today. But 100 years, that's damn impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something, as you said, 100% that people often think about. I mean, when I think about businesses being around for a long time, I think of sort of, mom and pop shops, maybe restaurants that have just sort of been in a small town that have been around forever. But for something just as big as Goodyear to be around and not fail is, a testament to strategy, perhaps, and strategy. Speaking of strategy, I'm looking to see that maybe the GTD class might begin their sort of second layer of pit stops, looking at where they last stopped and where we're at in the race now. Could be mistaken, but I have a feeling that might start to happen soon as they begin to go for their last and final pit stops of the race, as the clock has now wound down beneath the hour. One more hour to go in this 3-hour, what I would refer to as a sprint as far as endurance racing, as we now see our overall race leader peel into the pits for their stop, as well as Tom Bryant aboard the HWT.
Yeah, I say it's good to think of it like that, isn't it? 3 hours racing, it's more like 3 1-hour sprints when you truly split it down. Of course, we have reached the hour mark in the broadcast. We're a minute and a half or so past the hour. As we start to see drivers in and out of the cars, we'll bring you all the updates when we do come back from the break. But Jack, a question for you. Which car are we going to watch while we go away for the break?
Oh, I would normally be like, all right, we're gonna go on board with a Cadillac, get some V8 Fury, but unfortunately, as we were saying earlier, bit of a game-breaking bug. Hybrid no worky, so no Cadillacs for today. I think we were on board with the GTP last time. I think we should stay on board with the GTD, and I still think perhaps a Mustang. I think if you want to pick a Mustang for me for us to go on board with, we can keep a little bit of V8 rumble.
Well, it's got to be the Mustang on your screen currently, hasn't it? As it begins the next part of its race, should we say? The final part should hopefully see with a little bit of conservative fuel saving all the way through to the end. As they come out of the pit lane, the number 34. Nobody really to fight, but we get to see the warm-up phase at least of the tyres and a bit of rear brake locking, almost catching out the driver aboard that one. So we'll leave you on board the number 34. We'll head to our quick break. We'll get ourselves set up for the final part of the broadcast, and then myself and Jack will be right back with you to get you through to the end of the race. 57 minutes remaining. FTW Motorsports, Florian Durkop at the head of GTP. Mikael Sundstrom for nearly on pace at the head of GTD. And we'll be right back with you after the break. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the RSS Endurance Series here on RCI TV. And today we are, of course, still live from the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but it's the turn of the road course layout that plays host to round 6 of the championship. While we're away on break, a little bit of drama. We'll cover that in just a second. But Jack May is still alongside me for the final 40 minutes. And it's looking rather strong for Florian Durkop at the top of GTP, and equally nearly on pace, looking very confident for the GTD win.
Yeah, I mean, Florian Durkop, after the pit cycle, we're assuming that team will need to make another stop, but almost a minute gap is a mighty statement to be made this late into the race. And then the nearly on pace team getting a free pit stop, effectively having the pit stop gap so that they could go in, stop, and not even lose the race lead, and still say 25 seconds ahead.
Yeah, say such a confident lead, but anything can happen in endurance racing, as we know, and there was some drama for this car on your screen at the moment. Harry Conway in the Speed Juice and Horseflow car. Let's catch a race replay here coming out of the pit lane. Of course, typically on cold tires, like we've seen a lot so far in the race, and maybe just clipping the grass or just a little bit too confident on the steering lock, and almost a 1-to-1 of what we saw earlier on with the number 9 ROM racing car. Michael Opolka did almost the same thing there, and we've also had a little bit of drama for the number 88 Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry, as we see here. Just a little bit of shoehorning open with the SJ&H car and coming together through the latter half of the lap. That's down into turn number 8, and neither driver really wanted to yield at that part. And then we see Harry Conway wrestling the wheel, trying to get the Porsche back underway. And all of a sudden, the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry comes on alongside, and two drivers colliding. A little bit of flat spotting, no doubt, on those tires. They're not going to be in the best of condition, especially Harry Conway. He only just come out the pits, so that's not going to be a pleasant last stint for the SJ&H crew, but everybody back underway. No real major calamities there, Jack.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit, maybe the SJ&H came over to sort of, widen the entry into the corner, maybe came over a bit too far, got caught up with the number 88, but it was a minor incident, sort of no harm, no foul, no real position changes, hopefully no damage. I think definitely that some flat spots all around in the SJ&H car. Going to be feeling it the entire stint, which is certainly not ideal, as we see our overall race leader, Florian Durkop, going for the lap on, I'm going to be honest, not sure who that was. Getting a little spicy, almost a little overtakey into turn 1, but they gave each other room. It's clear, it's fine. Both drivers obviously not trying to lose time. Keeping it.
The magic of endurance racing, isn't it? As we just see Matthias Lateo there taking a jumping line through the Piff-Paff chicane, and it's all about kind of almost working together in a sense in terms of endurance racing. Of course, everybody wants to minimize time loss, of course, when they lap cars, when they pass cars, and even fighting each other. Sometimes you really do have to choose those battles.
Yeah, multi-class racing is, as I say, and I know many say as well, giveth and taketh away, and working together, being like, all right, we're going to give each other space, especially when it comes to overtaking your own class, especially when it comes to that. It is all about being smart, sort of picking your right moment, not rushing into things as the overtaking car, and making sure you give a respectful amount of room for that overtake to happen if you are the slower car. But the GTPs overtaking the GTDs is a little bit more simple. There's quite a bit of a pace delta between the two, but sometimes, those GTPs, they stick their nose in, and sometimes the GTDs don't see them coming, and that's how you can get into a bit of incidences. Now we're on board with the cute and round Roxy car. I do love pink Porsches. I miss the Iron Dames pink Porsche, but I love to see this one rolling around.
So anybody thinking about entering Road Atlanta in a 992, that might be a livery inspiration there. Of course, the Iron Dame's a very famous outfit in the world of Porsche GT racing in general, and putting on a good display. The fan base is immense that follows them. I attended WEC at Spa this year, and certainly plenty of pink around the paddocks, around the grandstands. It was really special to see, as we see a bit of calamity here between Florian Durkop, we were speaking about earlier on. GTPs maybe sticking their nose where it wasn't quite welcome, and Durkop trying to get around the outside of the Thomas Enger entry and locking a brake considerably down into turn 12, and he elects to take himself to the pit lane. Probably wanted to clear the Mustang to try and get a kind of fast run into the pit lane, but unfortunately ended up undoing himself as he trundles down pit lane. Interestingly, not on the speed limiter, according to that steering wheel. I believe the Acura should flash some lights to indicate that they are on the pit limiter. So quite interesting there. And I think the pink lights have come on as he shifts down gears. So not sure what's going on there, but certainly on the pit limiter, unlike how I thought, onto the jacks he goes. It'll probably be a set of tyres and a tank of fuel to get him to the end. 34 minutes on the race timer, so not too much fuel needs to go into that car. Should just be a bit of a splash and dash to get him going, and fingers crossed he can come out ahead of Michael Opalka, although the time is ticking down somewhat. I'm not sure if these GTPs can make it to the end that have stopped. I think logically we were discussing it should be possible. Anybody after lap 90 or so taking a set of tyres is Florian Durkop. So it's going to be the classic cold tyres out of the pit lane, watching him work them up to temperature. Be very careful on pit exit. We've seen lots of drivers already caught out by that, as we see the VFT Esports Adrian Galeo currently in that car on their comeback. So we should see the BMW kind of drive away from Durkop in these early stages, and then Florian kind of comes back in the later stages. But great to see the VFT Esports car back up into P4. Maybe it's not going to be all doom and gloom as we once thought at the start of the race, Jack.
Yeah, it's good to see them come back, come good. I mean, P4 is definitely nothing to scoff at. It's a good position to be. But for Florian Durkop, it's damage negation. It's keeping it steady, keeping it smooth, not doing what we've seen happen a couple of times already this race, and drivers sort of getting caught out by their cold tires. There was a little bit of a wiggle on the rear there, mid-corner, but held well, kept good. It will be, a lap or two more before that tire's really up to temperature and really working at its best. I imagine once that happens, what might end up being about a 15-second gap, as there's still more wiggle on those cold tires. Impressive stuff, keeping that car out of the wall and from spinning end over end. But I think that gap ahead is going to crumble once this car gets up to temp.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you there. Once Florian's worked these tyres into their window, we should see that kind of gap kind of disintegrate before our eyes and back up into the top step. But fighting that car through this warm-up phase definitely has to be very careful indeed. And a short lap here at Indianapolis, and not too many kind of high-load corners that, of course, we would see at other venues. I mean, if you think about Spa, of course, you've got Rouge and Raidillon. You've also got kind of Lacombe at the top of the hill. That's a bit of a fast kind of high-load section. Down towards Buon again, quick corner. Blanchimont again, big braking zone into the bus stop. So some circuits a bit better than others at generating tyre temp. And here at Indianapolis, of course, you look to the top right-hand side, it's not too many high-load corners. And Durkop's done almost the same thing as he did the previous lap, out-braking himself completely at turn 12, off into the grass. That's going to be a dirty set now of cold tyres. So be very careful through turn 14, because we've seen a lot of incidences through there, and safely through 14 down towards turn 1 once again. But it's going to be a big time loss, possibly maybe a flat spot or so. Whether or not he lifted the brake, he certainly went further than he did last time. So I can only assume he kind of lifted the brake and tried to minimize the flat spot as much as possible while still trying to get the car stopped. But nevertheless, no damage as we catch a race replay here through turn number 11. We're going to see the hard brake for turn number 12, and Immediately there, you see turning in, and the brake just kind of doesn't want to engage, and certainly lifted and took it a lot further out than he did last time. But locking it back through turn 13, back underway through 14, no spin through 14, all safe on that front. Just another time loss, and of course, going into essentially the fourth stint, if you think about it, for Florian Durkop. Of course, he's been in the car since the beginning. He qualified the car as well, so maybe some cracks beginning to show in the young German driver, Jack.
I think anybody would be a bit fatigued after this much driving, but I mean, it's still super impressive. I think 100% lifting off the brake there just to stop those tires from locking up, getting a big flat spot, because the last thing you want to do is on already a little bit cold tires. A flat spot's just going to be so much worse if it ends up happening. Good damage limitation there, as now we're on board with the 333 BMW, the VFT car, and just, I'm still so surprised at how hard these cars are taking these curbs. I used to sort of assuming that, stiffer GTPs couldn't really do that, but whether it's the iRacing model or whatever it is, like, I would expect going over that curb, that car's spinning backwards. But all day today, all these drivers absolutely slamming these apex curbs.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how much curb Galeo is taking through the Piff Paff chicane of 5 and 6, especially after the incident earlier on. Very brave. I mean, it's almost a psychological thing at that point, whether the car is going to land flat or whether it's going to snap you off into the wall again. So I'd certainly be a little bit gingerly through there. Nevertheless, Galeo still maximum attack, trying to get that car back up into where it needs to be for the championship points heading towards the final round. Late pull out there behind the Thomas Enger Sim Racing Mustang, maximizing the slipstream down into turn 1 as much as they can and clattering the curb on the inside. The BMW really seems to take these raised curbs in its stride. We've seen the kind of Acura cars giving them a bit of a wider berth. The Porsches, again, we've seen a few slip-ups through 5 and 6 due to excessive curb usage, but you see there the whole car lifting off as he gets through the chicane again, all the way up to the back of the HWT Motorsport Mustang. Tom Bryant still at the wheel of that one for the final stage of the race. Of course, Mikael Sundstrom giving the car back to Marcus Beifeld in the nearly on pace camp towards the top of the field. Donovan jumps back into the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry. Gabriel Schmidt stays in the ROM Racing car, and a change of driver. Again, Ilian into the Thomas Enger Sim Racing sister car, the number 34. Matthias Latao still in the ERE Race Esports team. That's another driver that's gone from green to checker all the way on himself. Tom Bryant, again, stays into the HWT Mustang. Theobald Roskam, I don't think I've seen him jump out of the Rebound Racing car, so I think the Belgian driver, again, been in that car since the beginning. Same is said for Rainer Ressar, still in the Cute and Round Racing car on that one. Jan Jaeger still remains into the FTW, Motorsport entry car on that one. And then Honorato takes over the eSim Racing Winter segment car in P10, and unfortunately a DNF in the form of the Wheelie Slow Racing team. Tom Roberts retiring the car at lap 58. So not really a high rate of attrition. It's been relatively kind of drama-free with these lower entry numbers, Jack. Of course, it means a much slimmer chance, should we say, of being involved in an accident. A lot less cars on the circuit, so typically means a lot less passing, a lot less dramas, and a lot less of those packs that tend to form where people tend to get their elbows out, and it always ends in tears for someone in the field. So a relatively happy camp, I would say, today, given the conditions.
I would imagine so. I think especially it's something that is a bit of a sigh of relief, a bit of a reprieve for those drivers that are doing the whole race themselves. It's like, all right, it's a lot easier to sort of stay relaxed, stay eased into your race when ultimately you might not be seeing a lot of cars for a lot of the race. As I've been looking at the timing screen now, it seems that Florian Durkop is doing what he's been doing all afternoon and just chopping away and putting in lap times. I think I've seen about 1.5 seconds in the last couple of laps, maybe the last lap and a half, and I'm sure the I give it maybe, I'll give it about 7 laps till that gap is at 0 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's a realistic expectation on that one. Of course, Florian Durkop didn't qualify on pole, although set himself off for a very quick run indeed. So not far off the back of Michael Opalka now. That gap certainly coming down somewhat. The gap being extended from the Thomas Enger GTP entry. And Galeo now 42 seconds off the back of these guys. Pitted lap 99. So one of the last pitters, other than Florian Durkop, of course, lap 108. So safely, Florian Durkop, I would like to say, should be able to get to the end. And of course, the nearly on pace car, the lap 90, they came in, the longest running GTD car in the field in that McLaren. So brilliant to see the strategy kind of playing its hand of, you know, how long you can go versus how hard you kind of want to start fighting people and kind of, you know, throw the fuel usage essentially out of the window. But again, going long seems to be the profitable thing. At the moment, a little bit of traffic in the form of the eSIM Racing winter segment Ferrari should be easily dispatched of by the GTP, of course, as they round off turn 14. The downforce car of the GTP able to change line a lot easier than the GTD can. So once the GTDs kind of pick their line, it's a little bit harder for them to deviate off it, as we saw earlier on with Florian Durkop. I think it was nearly running himself into the wall as he tried to get around some lap traffic, went the wrong side, and the Mustang kind of dragged itself up the banking as expected and nearly sandwiched the GTP between the wall and himself. So reading the scenario is certainly something we have to do as endurance racers. Perez back in the car for the 07 Racing entry. We've seen him flip-flopping in and out throughout the race, and again, a car that was caught out by the turn 5 and 6 chicane, so that was a fast repair used for them, but still not giving up, which is the crucial thing. We see it all too much, don't we, Jack, in races where people have one bad lap and one bad stint, should we say, and sometimes they throw the towel in and call it a day, and not what we like to see, especially with the grid so small, but great to see these drivers sticking it out where they need to.
Yeah, I think it's always, I've certainly been privy to some races where I've definitely made lots of mistakes and never felt like wanting to finish, but sort of the mind that if you've gone this far to show up and practice and get ready, even if you're going to cross the line well behind everybody else, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and stick it out. Even if it's another hour, another 30 minutes, or even another, 5 or 6 laps, just kind of put your head down, pretend it didn't happen, and go ahead and cross the line. But everyone's situation is different ultimately. And as I always say, to each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. So some people sticking out more than others, and some people may be seeing the bigger picture as we head to, of course, the final round next month at Road Atlanta. That's, of course, September 27th, I believe, off the top of my head. I'm just confirming it is. Indeed, September 27th. So if you fancy a one-off entry into the championship, we are still accepting those, so head on over to the website racerci.com and you can check out any of our events day or night. And of course the calendar next week, Monday, we're back in the world of ACC for the TCX Cup Season 2, aka the Sylvia Series this time by. Rolling into Zolder as Andy Boardman takes an early lead in the championship with wins at both Barcelona and Misano, but it is, of course, Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber hot on his heels, both from the Rebound Racing camp. And of course, Theobald Roskam, who we're watching now, part of the same team. Could it be the duo to undo Andy Boardman's hat-trick, or will he take a clean sweep so far in the first 3 rounds? Friday the 5th, we're also back in the world of LMU. That's with our Fuji one-off. Still plenty of space left in that one. That's LMP2 and GT3 as they head to the iconic Japanese circuit for 1 hour and 30 minutes of racing. So still accepting sign-ups for that one. RaceRCI.com if you do want to get involved there. Of course, our partners, they've been revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen for the remainder of the for the remainder, of the broadcast. Down below, you can find all of their links to all of their bits and pieces. And Ready Set Sim, of course, the title sponsor of the series, their mission to simplify sim racing with their sim rig builder, and they are of course offering €400 of prize pool alongside, for the first time ever, RCI trophies being given away for this series. So it's a little bit late maybe if you want a shot at the €400 or the trophies, but certainly head on over to the website, see what they can offer you in terms of helping you with your sim rig setup. Coach Dave Delta, also known as, CDA, Coach Dave Delta, CDD. Faster lap times, of course, start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7. Every time I say this, Gran Turismo 7 finally outputs telemetry that's readable by a third party. It's, crazy to think consoles, again, have come this far. Available in 9 languages, giving you the access to setups, racing lines, and data analysis. Why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Green Man Gaming, where you can buy games and game keys with Green Man Gaming. Get the best prices, awesome bundles, and exclusive game deals daily. And also, not forgetting their flash sales that they do occasionally host as well. The affiliate link is down below for that one, and I believe it has had a high uptake. So appreciate all of you that have used that one along the way. IMB Racewear, providing fully custom designs to allow sim racers and real-life racers to make the impact they've always wanted in their clothing. You can be sure that every piece is crafted with precision, style, and performance in mind. Moser Racing, who we were thrilled to partner with, a leader in high-quality sim racing gear. They have everything you need to boost your racing experience. Be sure to check the link down in the description below if you are looking for an upgrade this year. Of course, the R21 and R25 being announced very recently. So new hardware on the horizon there. And Pimax, of course, a new partner for us here at RCI. The first VR manufacturer to put 4K resolution in a VR headset, overseeing the concept of development and production of all of its VR headsets. You can be sure that Pimax will deliver an exceptional product. Code RCI10, that's RCI10, at checkout will save you 10% on your purchase. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but 10% off a rather expensive VR headset, not a bad idea. Certainly if you do want to get involved in VR racing. Jack, you said earlier on, it's something that's a bit of a novelty for you, kind of offline, maybe less serious races. Pretty fun to do, but maybe in an endurance setting, not ideal, covered in sweat in the heat of summer.
I mean, I will say I know a couple people that do it, and I think it's super impressive. For me, the biggest thing is I sort of slip off my pace a bit when I put a VR headset on. But I gotta say, driving rally cars in VR, favorite thing to do, easily. You just feel like you're gonna hit that tree that you're probably going to hit. It's incredible. It's great stuff.
I'll agree with you there. I entered a competition a few years ago at a local Ford dealer. Basically, ex-Fiesta WRC shell. Right-hand side of it, steering wheel pedals, VR headset, computer in the back. Left-hand side, still the original steering wheel pedal box that was fitted to the car. Basically, fastest time through a stage, won a prize. First VR experience ever, so I was kind of expecting to get a little bit nauseous, a little bit motion sick. Once your eyes adjust, it's actually very immersive, like you say. Came around a corner, tarmac stage of Spain somewhere. Right 6, flat out through it, kissed the dirt on the inside, dragged me out to the outside, and as the Armco kind of begun with the solid end piece, I looked at it and kind of winced. I remember tucking my arms in to my kind of rib cage and thinking, oh, I'm gonna hit this. And then I kind of like looked up and went, what am I doing? I'm not even in a real car, but it does get so immersive. And I mean, with Pimax resolutions, obviously we were speaking about this earlier, having 12K in a headset, that's gonna be, you're gonna see that tree in, like HD before you hit the thing.
You might be able to smell the thing with that level of resolution.
Smell the tree before it comes through the windscreen at you. But yeah, certainly, if you haven't tried VR and you do want to try one, it's definitely an experience to have, providing you've of course got the computing power ahead of you. While we've been waffling through the partners and through our VR experiences, Florian Durkop onto the back of Michael Opolka. And as I was about to hype this fight up, the ROM Racing Porsche peels into the pit lane, confirming our suspicions that not every GTP could make it towards the end on that last stop. So we should, in theory, start seeing a few more cars coming down the lane. I think maybe Galeo could be touch and go, whether he's going to make it. Of course, he pitted lap 99 last time in the lane. So if he does enough fuel saving, could he make it towards the checkered flag? If he could, this could be an absolute blinder of a move to chuck them back up towards the podium position after the earlier on incident. Just has to manage traffic as he begins his way back through, and it's always so scary watching Galeo come through the field. He uses so much curb in areas that I wouldn't think, you know, me and you both agreed, Jack, that we both wouldn't be using this much curb, but the amount of slipstream he tries to take out of every single car, it boggles the mind. He's nearly in the diffuser by the time he jinks out to make the move.
Yeah, I can imagine being one of those GTD cars that he's coming up on. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna hold my steering wheel in a straight line and hope I don't get murdered. But obviously, watching him side through the field, it's actually been mighty enjoyable. And not only taking the curb, but I noticed in those last couple of corners, clipping the grass a little bit on the apex, leaving nothing left out there in terms of lap time, in terms of space on circuit. Let's make this thing as short as possible, just killing curbs, touching grass, and it's great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, you know, fantastic to see somebody so on the limit and so determined to try and get themselves back up into the top end of the field, essentially. So Florian Durkop again becomes your race leader, 43.5 seconds to the good. In theory, they shouldn't have to stop again, but this is all in theory, providing, of course, they make no mistakes towards the end of their stint. Just looking towards the YouTube chat, it's been nice and active today, actually. Michael Redford dropping in, saying it's nice to see the number 95 winning for a change. I detect some sarcasm from you there, Michael Redford. Of course, the number 95 actually P3 in the standings, although very dominant last time out at round 5. So, you know, continuing from the last round as they mean to go on towards the final round, I assume, with a late run of points. And Philip Bracer also in the YouTube chat, my number one rival throughout the mini British GT Championship we hosted at RCI just a few months ago, and a real thorn in the side as I tried to take away as many championship points as I could. And of course, Philip actually departing from the RCI esports team very recently, moving onwards to Brabham. So very sad to see him go, but of course everybody needs change now and again, and all the best. I think I speak for everybody at RCI when we say that. All the best to you in your new venture, and I'm sure you're going to be a pain in my side, just in a different livery at some point in the future. So good to see you about still, Philip. I hope you're taking care of yourself. This man on the screen, though, nearly on pace, Marcus Byfeld, still plugging away at the race lead. 22 seconds, though, to the good on Donovan now. I think that gap has come down a bit, Jack. I think it was up at 25 seconds, if I'm not mistaken myself. So Byfeld maybe dialing back the pace a bit, maybe trying to nurse that car to the end, and definitely try to get it towards the checkered flag without an extra stop.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The gap was around 25 seconds, but if we're looking at last lap time, he lost about 9/10 in that lap, so maybe a bit of a mistake. But I do think it's going to be a mixture of backing off a bit, probably not fuel saving. They should be well and truly good to get it to the end, but more or less, why push if you don't need to? I mean, the gap is fairly comfortable. If you push harder, you're more likely to make a mistake. And at this point in the race, a sort of bigger spin or anything, I mean, that's gonna lose you the win.
Yeah, I mean, losing the win, 2 hours 50 away, should we say, plugging away all afternoon, and to lose the win in the last 10 minutes, something you definitely don't want to be doing. As we see the race leader wide berth there through past the Thomas Enger entry, just ahead, of course, Perez biding his time just behind the FTW Motorsport car of Jan Jaeger. They're trying to undo their kind of cataclysmic race, should we say, at the moment. Qualified at the back of the field, didn't quite have the best middle stint either, picking up a pit lane speeding penalty. That's why they're so far down the grid, and sister car behind having a much better day in the GTP category. I think Jan Jaeger probably going to make this rather easy for, of course, the sister car. Gives it a nice wide berth. Of course, the GTP undercutting somewhat as they head out on towards the banking. I did notice last lap, though, one of the Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry cars, the one just behind here, the FTW car, almost running themselves up into the wall coming out of turn 14. That's Donovan. So really pushing the limits of that Mustang currently. And also it was Adrian Galeo just ahead with a puff of smoke that we've seen so much as the BMW once again scuffs the wall. So everybody is really trying to get the maximum amount of time out of these cars that they possibly can, minimizing time loss again, just trying to fire themselves up towards the top end of the grid to set themselves up for, of course, Road Atlanta next month, where we head for 5 hours. So another 2 on top of what we got today. I don't think we're going to see too many solo attempts next month here, Jack.
That would be something. I would be mighty impressed if 1, 2, maybe 3 solo drivers, as we see a Porsche going a bit wide, and also I think that's the FTW car that's doing a bit of blipping there. But yeah, that would be incredible if somebody showed up and they're like, yeah, let's do this whole thing on our own. That's 5 hours is not impossible. Certainly can be done, but that is a lot of fatigue. That is a lot of focus. I certainly couldn't come anywhere close. I struggle about the 90-minute mark. Things start going a bit wrong for me. I don't. My ADHD-ridden brain plays tricks on me after about 90 minutes of driving straight.
Yeah, I think I'm in about the same kind of area as you. I can do about an hour 30, an hour 45, and after that, it kind of begins to tail off a little bit. So definitely need that break at the end of the second stint. But for some of these guys to go all race 3 hours plus the qualifying plus the practice, there's probably near enough 4 hours of driving going on for some of these guys today alone, let alone, of course, all the prep that they've done in the week leading up to this. And again, the RSS Endurance Series mirroring the IMSA calendar on iRacing. So this is almost like a prep race for the IMSA Indianapolis race within iRacing, the official event, of course. So some of these drivers using it maybe for testing, using it for, I don't know, seeing how far they can go in the race, knowing that, okay, when we did the RCI race, I could easily do 3 hours. So leave me in the car for 3 hours. We won't see a pace drop off. A little splash and dash there for Ashley Holland. That was a very quick stop. That was kind of in the box, drop the fuel can in, and off we go again. Didn't look like any tires were put onto the number 5 Muppets racing car, and I think the test of time will be what we see when he leaves the pit lane, if he's a bit gingerly as he approaches some of these corners, or whether he looks a little bit more confident. But Perez not able to capitalize on that one. Certainly, tire temperature has been lost. Of course, we do need to do the in and the out sequence, but not as much as what you do if you did change a set of these Michelin tires today. So should find his pace back again and should be able to hopefully fend off from Perez, who pitted lap 91. Of course, Adrian Galeo lap 99. The last kind of car to stop, should we say, in the realm of it. We might even see the number 88 Thomas Enger Sim Racing entry coming down the pit lane. Of course, they're 53 seconds clear of Florian Durkop. That's a big ask to do in 6.5 minutes of racing. It's not happening. But in the back of shot, of course, the red Porsche 963, the ROM Racing entry, Michael Opolka at the wheel of that one. They're, of course, rebranded from the CRF Motorsports camp. So they essentially pretty high up in the championships. They are, of course, your championship leaders. 305 points to the good on this car on your screen at the moment. And VFT Esports, 293 points just behind. So Galeo and Opolka, really the fight that we're going to have to keep our eye on as we head towards the checkered flag today. The number 95 FTW Motorsports car. Oh, we see the 88 there cutting turn 8 and 9, sorry, as he loses the back end heading into 10. That's Opolka gone through. we see there for the Ron Racing number 9, it's all come undone. Very last minute for the Thomas Enger entry, as we were just talking about them. Let's have a look what happened. Coming down into turn number 7, nobody ahead, nobody behind, brakes on the curb, and just doesn't quite meet the apex, has a bit of a wobble, cuts through turn 8, comes out at the beginning of, well, the apex of turn 9, kind of has a bit of a wobble getting back on, and then rear end completely lets go on dirty tires, Jack. That's not what the number 88 certainly wanted to happen in these dying stages of the race. They have stayed out, so it does kind of allude that they have enough fuel for 5 more laps at least, but the P2 that was on the cards has definitely disappeared, as Opelka now 4.5 seconds to the good up the road.
A heartbreaking mistake. I mean, 5 minutes left in the race, and you know, losing a position like that, but that was just sort of textbook dirty tires. You know, you get back onto the circuit, you're immediately like, all right, there's a car behind me, the gap's not very big, we got to keep pushing, and you know, you got grass on the rubber. It does not have the mechanical grip that you're used to, and the back end just spinning around. Wondering though if it was maybe the corner before, if it was maybe he broke himself, maybe broke a little bit offline, but there was nobody ahead, nobody behind, so it was a bit of a mistake out on your own, which oftentimes sting the worst.
Yeah, they really do, don't they? When it's you that's made the mistake, and you can't really try and shift the blame to anyone else. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one for sure on that one. But back underway, no real harm, just a big time loss and maybe a set of flat spotted tires for the number 88 as the Porsche of Perez keeps plugging away at Ashley Holland, just ahead for the Muppets Racing team, and running very close to the wall on the bank. And it's always a bit of a wince moment as everybody comes off of the banking towards that wall. It looks like the cars kind of naturally gravitate and suck themselves towards it. It's very nerve-wracking from us up here in the comms box. Probably a lot more cool and calm in the cars for the drivers rather than us up here. So very tricky indeed, but Perez plugging away, 1.2 seconds to the good now. The car that he does want to find is in kind of his vision, so gets you more like locked in, I would say, at this point, Jack. You become a lot more focused on the task at hand rather than staring out the windshield at an empty piece of road. You've got a tangible target to try and get to.
Yeah, nothing gets you driving quicker than a car for position right in front of you. Especially, you see, all right, 2.5 minutes now. It's do or die. It is maximum push. There's no fuel saving. There's no tire saving. It is leave it all between the white lines. Oh, as Perez just goes a bit deep. Oh, undoing quite a bit of the work that was done. Maybe a little bit of a commentator's curse there. Perez, I apologize. But, I mean, the lap times were looking super, super strong for Perez. I mean, it was 4/10 that last lap. It was maybe 4/10 again previously. And, oh, heartbreak. But, I don't know, 2 seconds. 2 seconds, 2 laps to go. It could be done.
Ambitious, but possible, like you say. You never quite know what might happen. Just riding on board with Florian Durkop via his stream on my end, just having a watch in the dying moments. He's wrestling the car over these curbs somewhat rotten. It's amazing to watch the steering wheel inputs and how smooth he is through all of the turns. But yeah, back to his Twitch title I mentioned earlier on. It's Cold Tire Chaos, Time to Bin It. And I mean, with 1 minute 30 left, he's run out of time to bin it. So fingers crossed he keeps it all the way to the end as we get towards the dying stages of course, today's race. 3 hours on the clock as the green flag dropped. It was a rather shorter race than what we're, of course, used to here on the RSS circuit. One of the shortest of the calendar, just after Laguna Seca and Road America. 1 minute 2 on the clock, and your race leader crosses the line to begin their final lap. This is it. This is all she wrote. And one more lap for everybody to settle their battles. Of course, a big chunk of cars ahead will be on their final lap if Florian Durkop does get past them. Of course, checker flag drops when the leader crosses the line. So if he's feeling generous, he might back off a little bit and gift a few GTDs their right to battle. But knowing Florian and knowing the kind of esports mentality behind all the drivers, he's just going to be pushing all the way to the end as he makes his way towards turn number 7 underneath the Thomas Enger Sim Racing Mustang. That's I think that's the number 34 and the number 690 ahead. So that could have been another battle had it been a little bit closer at this point, but gaps too big now as he begins his run up onto the banking for one of the last times before braking for turn number 12. Gets it stopped for turn 12 into 13. Unlucky for some, they say. A little bit of a wiggle as he gets the car pitched in, but into turn 14, onto the loud pedal, Florian Durkop goes as he makes his way towards the start-finish line. He's not going to rob Theobald Roskam of a last lap, and it is the FTW Motorsports entry, the number 95, Florian Durkop, in the car from beginning to end. An absolute dominant performance as expected. Michael Opalka, some 1 minute 5 down the road. That's how dominant this man has been today, playing strategy excellently well. And this man here on your screen, Marcus Byfeld, with the support of Mikael Sundström, puts the nearly on pace McLaren onto the top step of the podium. And I even asked Mikael earlier about the pace of Byfeld as we noticed it was dropping. Apparently Marcus was struggling, concentration, and not feeling great. So something to remember there. An ailing driver still getting towards the end on the top step of the podium with the duo Mikael Sundström. Donovan, here he comes out of turn 14 towards the line. Thomas Enger Sim Racing P2. And it was Gabriel Schmidt in the ROM Racing McLaren we saw on your screens there. It's a rather unique celebration. They were in P3 already locked in. Michael Opalka for ROM Racing. It's a great entry nonetheless, P2. And the number 88, Thomas Enger Sim Racing GTP entry comes through in P3. So double podium for Thomas Enger at least, which is a good thing to take away. We did, of course, chat about the Jan Jaeger car, the number 96. They've not had the best comeback drive since. They're, of course, down in P9. They will make no further position there as we see Gabriel Schmidt cut his cooldown lap short, jumping straight back to the pit lane. Some drivers electing to do the full lap and bringing themselves back in. Perez, of course, P7. We've got Honorato here in P10, seeing out to the end in the Ferrari 296. The Roxy Porsche missing its mouth somewhere around the circuit. And we see there the two FTW cars kissing, heading into turn 7. A little bit of a show of strength maybe to see which car has more torque. It almost looks like the Mustang's about to ramp the Acura over the front of it, but what a celebration, I guess, in style for these two. Of course, the FTW crew, GTP and GTD. Looks like the grunt of the Mustang certainly has it over the Acura. So heard it here first. Heard it here first, folks. The Mustang stronger than the Acura, but a great event. 3 hours on the clock, a relatively short one this afternoon, but still nonetheless provided us with some fantastic action. Jack, of course, you joined us halfway through towards the end, and it's been a brilliant, I think, iRacing kind of debut event for you. It's been quiet, but there's still been aspects of battles that are definitely worth highlighting and chopping up for the RCI social medias.
Oh yeah, it's been great. Definitely enjoyed it for sure. Enjoyed watching, enjoyed talking about it, enjoyed spending time with you as we see attempting for a little bit of Tokyo drift behind the Acura. I would be thoroughly impressed if a well-executed drift can be done here. Let's see. I mean, hold it. Oh, almost held it going into the pit lane. That would have been something. No, really enjoyed the race. It was definitely a little bit quiet, but it was still enjoyable seeing all these different cars, different drivers. I mean, I think that was about as good as it gets as far as drifting a GTP car on Indianapolis. Maybe I think an Acura should join Formula Drift next season. I think that might be a good chassis for that type of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it might be worth certainly somebody lodging maybe an NSX in Formula Drift one year, cutting the front and rear off and kind of tube framing it with Wise Fab and all the fancy angle mods that we see in Formula D. Maybe it could be a first. Watch this space. You heard it here on RCI TV from Jack Mays. It's been a wonderful afternoon of racing here at the RSS Endurance Series. Of course, the partners, they've been revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, from Ready Set Sim, the title sponsor, of course, or title partner, sorry, of today's event, with €400 a prize pool offered alongside our RCI trophies. Coach Dave Delta, Greenman Gaming, IMB Racewear, Moser Racing, Pimax, and of course, not forgetting, we are a Motorsport UK esports recommended community, which is a pretty privileged thing to be a part of here. As I alluded to earlier, Monday the 1st, we're back with ACC. That's the TCX Cup Season 2, aka the Sylvia Series. We're still accepting mid-season signups for that one, so if you do want to get involved, feel free to do so. And again, Friday the 5th, we're back in LMU for our Fuji one-off. Plenty of space left in that one as we take LMP2 and GT3 to the iconic Japanese circuit for 1 hour and 30 minutes of racing. And likewise, if you do want to get involved with us in iRacing, the RSS Endurance Series final round takes place at Road Atlanta on September 27th. That's for 5 hours of racing. And we do have a little bit of a mini game to play alongside the broadcast. We will have our first ever RCI bingo. So if you don't want to get involved in that one, keep your eye on the Discord and in the chats on the day. We'll be posting a link to that and you can get involved on that one too. But from myself, John Dalton, it's been a wonderful afternoon of racing. From Jack Mays alongside me for the second half of the race, and Mitch Hobbs, of course, at the beginning, and the absolute monster that is Ted Edwards behind the broadcasting, putting on a great show, making sure nothing gets missed. We thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we hope to see you on Monday when we take some BMW M2s racing for the TCX Cup. Take care.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights.